Tom Thibodeau with dead weight, and the Knicks were right to can his ass. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. I've forgotten me. Yeah, I know. I haven't been on this station in a long time. It feels like a life age since I've been on this show. But welcome into the show. Did you miss like the show? Never mind. No, man. I'll answer that question. Some elements of it. Some people love it. Others, not so much. Yeah. By the time I asked, I said, "Yeah, no. I'm not gonna lie to you, Cole and Tolos. It took me 2 days of studying hard of what's happened in sports over the last 11 days since I've been on the air with you guys. Because when I go on vacation, I disconnect. I cut off all of it. I didn't watch any sports. I participated in sports. I went and played a lot of golf, lost a lot of golf balls over the course of the last 10 days or so. But I was not sitting on my couch watching television. I was out doing it, living it. That first day back is tough. Yeah, you come back to work that first day after vacation. What happened? You're like, oh, did the Hurricanes win the series? No, they did not. It wasn't good. No, they did not. No, it was not. But yeah, I did kind of crash course, bring myself back into the world of sports, and it blew me away, Cole, when I found out that the Knicks had fired Tom Thibodeau. I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't they just have a pretty good season? Yeah. Didn't they beat the Celtics? Yeah. Didn't they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and they're firing him? What's going on? Makes no sense to me, but you say it does. I actually do think it makes a lot of sense, Cole, because you hire a coach based on the results that you want to achieve. You don't keep somebody around based on what they've already done for you. You keep them around based on what you think they can do for you going forward. You know, this is not a gratefulness competition. We're grateful for Tom Thibodeau and what he's done to bring the Knicks back up. We're grateful for what Brad Brownell has done for the Clemson basketball program over the last couple of years. We'll get into that a little bit later on in this conversation. Because I think they actually did make the right move in firing a guy that otherwise couldn't get them to where they wanted to go, or at least that's what the management feels. The management feels like Tom Thibodeau is not. He brought them back to relevancy, and that's great. We appreciate that. But you are not going to be the guy. You do not have the right philosophy to get this franchise to where we want to be, which is winning championships, which is winning trophies. So that's what I think, Cole. I think they made the right call. You know, listen, I really do try to see both sides. However, I can't agree with you on this one. I think when you look at the NBA and when you look at what Tom Thibodeau did for the New York Knicks, again, going back to what I said, I do try to see both sides. I really do. However, the side that I look at and I favor the most is, are you kidding me? How do you fire Tom Thibodeau, a guy who's number one, looked at as one of the most respected head coaches to ever coach in the NBA. Number two, look what all he had to deal with in 2025, and you're telling me, no, that's not good enough, and we're just going to fire him and hope the new guy that comes in does a better job. I think it's more risk than it is reward. So did it work out? To your point, yeah, it might work out, but there's a lot of risk with this. I think Tom Thibodeau is stuck in a previous era of basketball, right? When you had to do it with 3 or 4 stars on your team, and you let them get the bulk of the playing minutes, where you gave them the bulk of the touches, so to speak. If we're talking about it in football terms, you give the stars the ball at all times, and you don't really develop players around you. There's been a lot of issues that people have with Tom Thibodeau's, with his philosophy on how he does things. You know, he's played his veterans a lot, runs those starters into the ground, doesn't really do a great job at developing young players, and it hurts them when they get into a situation deep in the playoffs, when they run into a team that's just deeper than they are.
And T Swizzle brought that up on the YouTube stream. Good to see those Tolos already on the stream. T Swizzle, JD, Kane, the other ones that I missed. And yes, JD, we're trying to work on it. We can't host a radio show and work on audio at the same time. So give us a minute. We'll try to work on the audio on the stream. I know it's a little bit muffled, but here's the reality of it in my mind. When you look at the roster that he had, he took a team, Diesel, with no second all-star and made them a 50-win team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look, Jalen Brunson, we all know how good he is, but Josh Hart, Josh Hart's no superstar. Most teams in the league, in my mind, Diesel, would love to win a playoff series with an injured roster. And when you don't get the most out of the guys that you expect, not to mention, the injuries with Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and Bogdanovich, they all missed major time this season. You're still fighting for a second round, and you bring up the starters and not playing the bench enough. My question is, what more do you want? What more do you want? And that's why I disagree with you in this segment. I think that Tom Thibodeau is going to show the New York Knicks that he overachieved, and now they're gonna have to really prove us wrong now.
You said it there, a lack of a second all-star. Whose problem is that? Whose fault is that they don't have a second all-star? Whose fault is it that they didn't develop a roster that was pretty good, has pretty good players on it outside of Jalen Brunson, and you couldn't develop a second all-star out of that roster? That's the coach's fault, right? To not have the depth and the scheme to deal with that, that's the coach's fault.
Well, I say GM. I say GM deserves some blame there, and the coach should have a say. I don't know how it works with every situation. I say the coach should have a say in professional sports, right, in terms of what the GM wants to do. But the players bought in, Diesel. You look at what happened throughout the course of the season. Brunson, who is your star, openly credited Tibbs for his development, for his leadership. I thought the team had an identity. I thought they were tough, gritty. They played physical defense, and that comes from a coaching culture that was instilled. You don't fire, in my mind, the guy that the entire locker room buys in and believes in. Is there a better guy out there? Look, genuinely, you and I talk about it all the time. NBA coaches, I hate to be one. They get fired for winning a championship, right? But I don't know. If you already have a plan out there, Diesel, in terms of, okay, this is the guy that we're going to go get that's better than Tibbs, tell me, because I'm waiting. It seems like, to me, it seems like the New York Knicks made a mistake.
Look, I would have to assume that the general manager and ownership of the Knicks does feel like there is a better option out there. Otherwise, they wouldn't just fire him and say, oh, crap, what do we do now, right? They must believe that there is a guy who can take them to greater heights than what Tom Thibodeau did. And, he deserves a tremendous amount of respect for what he did to this franchise and the way he brought this franchise up from the dregs. Let's be real. I mean, we were all talking about a different New York team. We weren't talking about the Knicks ever. We were talking about we were talking about the other New York team. We were talking about the Brooklyn Nets. We weren't talking about the Knicks. They were a kind of a lost franchise, and Tibbs deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing that. The problem is, I think his philosophy is just a little bit outdated. Just a handful of stars doing the majority of the legwork, then you run those guys into the ground. You don't really develop your young guys the way that you wanted to. I mean, a great example, Obi Toppin. That dude was with the Knicks for a while, and he's now with the Indiana Pacers. His minutes have increased. His points have increased. His field goal percentage has increased. His three-point percentage has increased. He's become a better player since leaving a team where there should be, on paper, more opportunity to shine than there is in Indiana with more stars on the Indiana Pacers team. Yeah. I just think that they are finally looking around and saying, okay, we need to take a step farther than where he's gotten us. He's bumped his head on against the ceiling, and Tom Thibodeau can't take us any farther.
My whole thing is, we have this conversation with every level of sports, Diesel, when it comes to what do you do in a situation like this? We have this conversation and we see both sides, right? The one side of the conversation is it's the AD's job in college or the general manager's job in professional sports to go to the coach and say, hey, what can we do to make you better, right? We had this conversation with Lamont Paris in South Carolina. Struggled this year, right? Big time. It was a bad season for South Carolina basketball. Well, let's just fire him. Let's just get rid of him. Or Jeremiah Donati says, like he's doing, hey, let's go and figure out what we need to do better. I believe in you. I know you're not my guy. I didn't hire you, but I'm going to believe in you, and I'm going to figure out. Then that's the other side. So there's two sides to this. You can just say, hey, we're going to fire him. We hopefully have a plan that's going to work. Or two, the flip side of that coin, Diesel, is, hey, we're going to invest in you. We're going to figure out what we need to do better to give you more resources. Maybe the GM's not. Maybe me as a GM, maybe I'm not doing a good enough job. Obviously, they don't believe in Tom Thibodeau. They don't believe in him. Because if they believed in him, he'd be the coach. Well, they don't believe in the guy.
They're looking around the league, and they're looking at situations like what happened or what has happened for the Golden State Warriors since firing Mark Jackson and hiring Steve Kerr. Mark Jackson was a good coach at Golden State. Back-to-back playoff appearances. They had a strong defensive identity, to sound a little familiar with what's going on in New York. He won 51 games in 2014, and they fired him. Yeah, they became a much more innovative offensive team, really unlocked the potential of the roster that they had, and obviously the rest is history. They've gone on to just an unprecedented and phenomenal run, a dynasty in sports in the NBA, and that's what the Knicks want to be. They want to be the next dynasty, and Tom Thibodeau is not the guy, apparently, in their mind, to get you there.
But, I do like so while I disagree with you, I do like the statement that the New York Knicks put out. I don't know if you saw the very first line of the statement. While I don't think he should have been fired, I do like the first statement, the first line. It said, our organization is singularly, Diesel, focused on winning a championship for our fans. And if that's the objective, if that's the motive, I like that. I like to hear that. If I'm a fan, I like to know that this organization wants to win. However, there's 30 other teams. There's 29 other teams that also want to win a championship.
Hey, Tom Thibodeau's going to get picked up in no time, right? Yeah. He's not going to be on the unemployment line for long. Another team that wants to bring themselves back up from the brink of irrelevance is going to hire Tom Thibodeau, and that's maybe that's what he is as a coach, right? Maybe he is a rebuilder coach, not an innovative mind that's going to change everything and make you an offensive juggernaut.
I'd hate to know. I just – like, big picture, looking back, Tom Thibodeau wasn't good enough. Like, you're telling me if I'm going to interview for this job, and you and I, Diesel, are flying up to New York, and we're interviewing to be the next head coach. You're my agent. I'm the coach. We're interviewing. I look at you, and I say, well, Diesel, if they fire Tom Thibodeau for getting him to the Eastern Conference, how long are they going to keep me for? I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, Tom Thibodeau is one of the most respected coaches. I can't wrap my mind around it. I really can't. I don't know. If they come out and say, hey, we've got the next, I don't know who the guy is. I don't know who they're going to find. You said you would hope that they already have somebody in mind. I would hope that too. You think that kind of makes sense. But I'm telling you, man, unless they blow it, this could work. This could be beneficial. Knicks fans could be happy. But if they're not back in the Eastern Conference Finals next season, it's a failure.
I mean, I brought up the example of the Golden State Warriors moving on from Mark Jackson, a good coach. They hired Steve Kerr. Obviously went to become a dynasty that they went on to become. Toronto Raptors, here's another fine example of a good coach that was let go for a better coach, Dwayne Casey, when they fired him and brought in Nick Nurse. Dwayne Casey was the 2018 Coach of the Year, led the franchise to 59 wins, but they kept bumping their head on that ceiling, and they kept getting beat by LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, so they promote Nick Nurse, and they won the 2019 NBA championship. Another example, and again, take this one with a grain of salt because we know how this one ultimately played out. LSU moved on from Les Miles, hired Ed Orgeron, and won a national title with Ed Orgeron. I understand that things didn't go well for LSU in the following years. However, when you look at it through that little microscope, things weren't going well, or they were going okay for Les Miles, but not great. The program fancied itself a championship-winning program. They knew they had the resources to get it. They knew they had the talent to do more than what they were doing. So they said, all right, well, let's move on from Les Miles. Let's bring in Coach O. Nobody can understand him, but he won a national championship.
Yeah. So the question now becomes, before we end the segment, how long until we see the news that Michael Malone's going to be the next head coach? Like that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nobody else out there where you look and say, okay, this is a clear-cut candidate that's better than what we had. And personally, I really like Michael Malone. I enjoyed Michael Malone being on ESPN in the conference finals with the stand-ups before the game, like the pregame and postgame. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from Michael Malone. He's as smart as they get. Maybe I'm not educated enough, Diesel, when it comes to basketball to know that Michael Malone's a step up, an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau. But I'll tell you this, it better be Michael Malone, and it better not be anybody else. Because if you fire Tom Thibodeau to go hire someone other than Michael Malone, it's not going to please me. It shouldn't please Knicks fans. There's no excuse. There's only one obvious candidate here, and it's Michael Malone. He just got fired. It is cutthroat in the NBA. I don't know that there's another league, Diesel, that's as cutthroat as the NBA. You mentioned Nick Nurse. Guess what he did after he won a championship? Got fired.
Yeah.
I don't know. It scared me to death, but I think it's going to be Malone.
I mean, you could very well ask the question, that same question about Rod Brindamore with the Carolina Hurricanes and not being able to get them past the Panthers
especially if they didn't break that streak.
Yeah, right. I mean, we were just talking about him a week and a half ago, saying if this guy wins a Stanley Cup, he needs a trophy, or not a trophy, but a statue in Raleigh. Yeah. And then they got embarrassed by the Panthers in games 1 and 2. They got down 0-3. They finally won a game, but it doesn't matter, right? You keep running into that ceiling, and that's all you're able to achieve. They want to achieve more. They want to win Stanley Cups. They don't want to just make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not good enough anymore. Dewey texts in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663. He says, if that's the case, Eric Baggage of Clemson's baseball team should be fired. The goal was Omaha, not getting bounced in the opening round that you hosted. Well, yeah, Dewey, I wasn't entirely sure what was going on with the College World Series either until all of a sudden, Bink shows up on my phone. Clemson embarrassed and bounced from the college baseball postseason. Bubba Brooks, 86, says, welcome back, Diesel.
About time, right?
The second part of this text is not complimentary to you, Cole, but he says, we've actually got some sense back on the
Bubba. Well, anybody with the name Bubba, I mean, come on.
Hey,
I mean, what do you expect?
He's my kind of people.
What do you expect out of Bubba? I mean, go on.
Texter says, here's a crazy question. Could a coach like Tibbs make the Hornets relevant and transform them into a good team? Tom Thibodeau would instantly make the Hornets a better team.
Be fun, wouldn't it?
I don't know if they can afford him. I don't know if he would
want. God, what else have they spent money on?
Right.
I mean, that's a fun question, though. I mean, would he? Here's the reality. Won't he probably get a more attractive offer than the Charlotte Hornets? Don't we think that?
Isn't every offer more attractive than the Charlotte Hornets?
I mean, how many NBA teams are there? 29, 30, 31, whatever. I mean, I'd say 90% of them are. But again, it would be interesting. I'd love to see it. I mean, can the GM with the Hornets give them help? Maybe not. I don't know. That's what it all boils down to. Is they've got to get some guys.
T Swizzle brings up the example of Mark Richt and Kirby Smart. Yeah, Mark Richt was a good coach at Georgia. He just wasn't what he wanted him to be. And you move on from Mark Richt, a good coach. It's a risk, certainly. Bringing in a guy that didn't have head coaching experience before that, it's a risk. But you never know, right?
Never know.
And the good news is, if the new hire doesn't work out, you can just can his ass too and get somebody else. It's really not that hard.
I don't know, man.
It's just expensive.
I just think and JD brought up Jenkins from Memphis. I think it's got to be Malone. I really do. We'll get back to it. I fully expect Michael Malone to be heading to New York, but want to hear from you, Tolos, as well on what you think when it comes to that. In the very next segment, Diesel, it's been a year since we've had this incredible guest on the show, an entire year. It's been a year too long. Disha Thosar, MLB reporter and columnist for Fox Sports. She covers baseball as good as anybody out there when it comes to Major League Baseball, and we'll be joined by Disha right here on the Fan Upstate next. time to talk a little baseball. We go to the diamond in this very segment and are joined by a fantastic guest right here on the Fan Upstate. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Diesel. Disha Thosar, a Fox Sports MLB reporter and columnist, joins us right now. It's been about a year since Disha's joined us, and a year too long it is. Disha, how are you? Let's try that again. Can you hear us now, Disha? We are on location. Sorry about that. Absolutely. Anytime the MLB season in the thick of things, obviously you have a tough job. You cover more than just one team. Obviously the Mets are up there your way as well. But I want to start off by asking you, as an MLB reporter, thus far in the 2025 baseball season, what storyline or which team, or it can even be a player, has kind of grabbed your attention the most, the one that you go to bed at night, you know, and it just kind of puzzles you a little bit, right? That one storyline, that one narrative that you can't let go of. Yeah.
Disha, this is Diesel here. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. You put out a great piece on Friday about Juan Soto trying to do too much in New York, and to bring this thing back here locally to where our listeners' hearts and minds are. Are we in the same place sort of with the Atlanta Braves, where you've got a lot of players on this roster essentially just trying to do too much? Surely Ozuna has been pretty good so far through the season, but guys like Matt Olson and some of the other really good hitters on this team, Austin Riley, just are not hitting up to their standard and to what we've seen them achieve in a Braves uniform.
Ever since winning that championship. And I think that has been a rocky road just from my perspective, especially with guys like you mentioned, Austin Riley and Matt Olson, who are used to performing at a higher level and just not quite finding it. I think it's interesting covering professional athletes that this is kind of a toxic cycle, because the more that you're pressing at the plate and the more results that you don't get, you kind of just keep going back and back and back and forth through that flow. And it takes something like a good hit, a home run, to get that monkey off your back. But the more that you're in that cycle, the harder it is to get. So sometimes it's better to just kind of reset. And we saw the Mets in the same division do that last year, where they had the worst record in June and late May, and they completely turned it around. So I think the Braves definitely have that in them. I think it's going to be a challenge to kind of get to that point of reset. But once they see they have nothing to lose, I think that's when they can kind of unlock another level there.
Disha, can you help me understand, help me wrap my mind around the Baltimore situation? You know, last year I watched this Baltimore team, and I saw promising young stars. I saw a team that was hungry, and I thought, man, Baltimore, you know, at times last year they were kind of competing for a spot in the playoffs, a wild card, if you will. And then this year, Baltimore couldn't be any worse. I mean, I guess they could be the Rockies, right? But Baltimore is the one story that leaves me scratching my head this season thus far. Can Tisha Thosar of Fox Sports help me understand that?
Yeah, I think definitely for the Orioles, it goes back to some of their younger players just taking steps back, and that happens definitely in the first, second, third years in the big leagues. It's tough those first few years. Even for veterans, it can be tough. But with the right sort of guidance and veteran players on the roster, they can get through it. My biggest issue with the Orioles is I think they have a messaging problem. I think they've overpromised and underdelivered, especially since they've had a new owner. Kind of the assumption has been they're going to spend like Steve Cohen and the Mets and watch out. And meanwhile, they've had really underwhelming off seasons, and everyone's kind of waiting for them to make a big move. And it never happened. They just let Corbin Burnes just walk away, and they picked up some guys here and there, but nothing flashy that gave this signal that they can compete with the Yankees in that division. So we're kind of seeing it play out the way that it was over the winter. But if this is what they were always going to do with their new ownership, then they have to be upfront with their fan base about that, because the expectations that everyone has about them is not aligning with what they're actually doing with their actions. So I think if they were a little more upfront, then people can adjust their expectations and realize, oh yeah, this is still a young team. They're going through it. There really aren't huge answers until the trade deadline for even what they can do, or maybe even the off season at the winter meetings for what they can do to fix it. But there has to be something more than them just kind of taking accountability for it without actually saying, here's what we can do, and here's what went wrong, and here's what we can expect going forward.
Find her on Twitter at Tisha Thosar, Thosar, reporter for Fox Sports and Major League Baseball. Let's park there on the conversation of spending and bringing it back to the Atlanta Braves again. Is Alex Anthopoulos' strategy of get them while they're young, give them long-term deals, less money each year, not really becoming a real player and chasing the superstars with brink trucks full of cash, is that still a viable strategy in your mind? We've seen this team now fall off a little bit over the last couple of years. Does he need to rethink how he's managing this roster?
It's a really interesting question, and one that I think we can't really answer until a few more years into some of these player contracts. But what I can say is that it was such an appealing sort of way of going about contract design that he definitely inspired the rest of the league. We've seen young players sign long-term deals ever since it started with Anthopoulos. So I think in that way it makes sense, but there has to be a strategy of not really being beholden to those big contracts, that you can't add anyone else. And I don't think he has that problem because he's really good at making creative deals, especially in the winter and the trade deadline. So I think right now that's not an issue for them, but it's certainly something that could become an issue as we see some of these longer deals play out with their younger stars. But definitely at the offset, it looks like, hey, why is he the first guy to think of this? Everybody should be doing this. And now fan bases are imploring organizations to do the same thing and lock up their young stars well before they hit free agency. So I think it takes a lot of support and a lot of kind of a brainchild in the front office, which they have, but we're just not seeing that right now play out.
Disha, Diesel has asked you a couple Braves questions, and I'm the one that's really kind of heartbroken. I'm trying to not, it's like the ex that you don't talk about. I'm the diehard Braves fan that really doesn't want to talk about them, but I'm going to ask you a couple of Braves questions anyways. I did try to avoid it and, go with some other teams there to start. But when it comes to Atlanta Braves, obviously it is disappointing if you are an Atlanta Braves fan, but do you buy into the philosophy, and maybe it's just something that we don't talk enough about in Major League Baseball, that coaches, even position coaches, Disha, do matter? You look at what the Braves have lost in the last couple of off seasons, right, with Chris Young and Ron Washington, and now you kind of look at this Braves team, and you look and you find some issues here, you find some issues there, and they can kind of point back to some really good assistant coaches that this Braves organization had. Do you think we don't spend enough time talking about how assistant coaches can impact the MLB team?
Yeah, I think it does go a little under the radar, especially in this new age of baseball where people even tend to think a manager's job is overrated, right? That he can sometimes just be a puppet for what the front office is deciding. But I think every single person in that organization matters to a winning team. And that's when things really start to click. And now it's my turn to apologize for drawing every example back to the Mets, but I did see this play out with Jeff McNeil and Chili Davis, who was a hitting coach for the Mets, who got fired midseason a few years ago now. And McNeil really, really had a hard time with that dismissal. A lot of the guys in that clubhouse did, and there was sort of an uproar of how could you do this? And when one person like that who you're close to, who you might not even know, it's not that players are usually comfortable talking about it until they lose someone like a Ron Washington. I think that's when you can kind of understand, hey, this guy might have been doing more than we even knew behind the scenes. And to me, I think in the long season, a long schedule as baseball, that is what matters. Coaches that pay attention to the little details, love coming to work, and just don't give up. And I think that is definitely someone like Ron Washington you can describe that way. But a lot of these guys are that way. You have to really love the sport to dedicate your entire year, your entire life to it while you're working in it. So I think, yeah, it goes under the radar, and it's not exactly something that can even be revealed until maybe they're gone.
Disha, could you see a scenario in which the no music during BP feud between the Sox and the Braves could spill out into the rest of the league? I mean, they won't play each other again for the rest of the regular season, so it's not going to rear its ugly head in a head-to-head matchup there. But, you know, is the league concerned enough about pettiness like this to actually put a stop to it? Or do you see this evolving into playing Disney kids music or death metal to intentionally distract the other team during BP?
I think the league is more concerned about the next CBA expiring than they are about these teams kind of going back and forth. And I love it. I love this pettiness, especially when it comes to little signs here and there, like music, when you know that it ticks the other team off and you're kind of just doing it to get under their skin. I wish baseball had more of that. I think we see that definitely in NBA with just guys being more open with kind of ticking guys off. But I don't think it'll really lead to anything insane until maybe these guys were to meet in the playoffs or in October, when in September in a pennant race, when things are really hyped up there attention-wise. But I think right now this is just it's just fun. I think it's fun for them. It's fun for fans, and it's one of those things that you can kind of see players being relatable, and you can kind of create your own narrative along that line of, I wonder what will happen next time, and things like that. I think baseball definitely needs more of that.
We're joined right now on the Fan Upstate by Disha Thosar of Fox Sports. She's a reporter and columnist covering the MLB for Fox. Fantastic interview so far. Fantastic follow on Twitter. If you Tholos have not done so already, do give her a follow before the end of the show today. Disha, when you look at what's happening with the Atlanta Braves, Diesel and I have both hinted at it, but the lack, and you mentioned it with another team, I believe Baltimore, the lack of moves during free agency was something that the Atlanta Braves fans were not really pleased about. In your mind, I'm going to ask you a tough one here. Is this season 10 games back? Is this a wash in your mind? I mean, you've seen and covered a lot of baseball, but, you know, in the NL East, we have seen collapses by other teams in years past.
Yeah, I really don't think it's a wash, and I don't think anyone in that clubhouse is operating like it's a wash, and you can kind of tell that by some of the topics we're talking about, like pressing at the plate and things like that. I think for it to me a little bit more concerned about the Braves than I am right now, this kind of run would have to stretch until the All-Star break, a little bit after, and even then, I'm not extremely concerned. Why? Because of the expanded playoffs. I think that really, really changed the picture for baseball teams and just how much they need to do to compete and how much they even need to win. Now we can see 80, 85 winning teams sneaking into October. And if they do get hot, this is still a scary, scary roster. And I think that is why it goes back to being a little underwhelmed with their moves over the winter, but at the same time, looking at who they have on the roster and thinking, yeah, this is a team that can compete with the Mets and the Phillies in the NL East. They can go to the playoffs. So I think they really are, in my opinion, maybe just a few weeks of the right things clicking away from being a threat again. Also because the Mets and the Phillies are no sure thing. I mean, they've been trading kind of back and forth in first place now for the last week, but there's really no runaway team. I don't expect the division winner here at the end of September to have some 10-game advantage. I think it is going to be close, but the Braves have to start clicking definitely soon, at least get some wins together to go off of to build your confidence at the very least.
Disha, the Rockies have finally gotten that monkey off their back. They snapped a streak of 22 straight series losses. Congrats to them. Granted, it's against the Marlins, and they stink. But, last year we saw it with the White Sox being historically bad. This year, the Rockies are historically bad. That's 2 seasons in a row where we've seen this. Once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. Where are we in terms of that? If you had to put a number on it, 2, 2.5, 3, as far as, is this going to be a pattern of really, really, really bad baseball? We don't know who's going to get it. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. Somebody's going to have a really terrible season, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, it does definitely feel like it's going to be between these two teams, between the Rockies and White Sox, of who's going to be in. Of course, throw the Marlins in there, and I think that really paints a picture of the Rockies have the opportunity to sweep the Marlins today, and that just kind of shows where some of these franchises are. And really, it is a knock on all of the owners and of course Rob Manfred for allowing this to happen. And it does feel like they're just kind of letting these teams die out to replace them with some new franchises, whether it's in North Carolina, Vegas, all these other ideas that have been thrown out there. And of course, it's a huge insult to the fan bases that have followed them for decades. So if that is the plan and not being upfront about it, of course, it's not a good situation to be following those teams, and we can laugh about it, but it really is, it will in the long term impact how the league operates and in what cities there really is baseball fans. I don't think these fans should be ignored or invisible just because the team is not playing well. Of course, they're not going to show up. But we can laugh at the attendance yesterday in Miami was something like 137 people, which is, I think there were more people in my subway car on this morning. So it definitely is a problem. But really, I mean, despite all the noise that anyone can do, this is going to come down to what does the league want to do about it, and of course, the next CBA.
Disha, can you follow up on that, what you said about, the possibility of Major League Baseball in North Carolina? We brought that up on the show many times. Being entrenched here in Braves country, there are some fans who, even if they got a Major League franchise in their own city or in their own state, would not give up their fandom for the Atlanta Braves to go be a fan of whether it's Charlotte or whether it's Raleigh. Can you give us a little inside information on what you're hearing there?
Yeah, I haven't really heard much. I know I've heard the rumblings that this could be a possibility for years now, that MLB has wanted a professional team in a city like North Carolina. But ultimately, you touched on it. I think that's exactly what's going to be difficult for them is where do these fans spawn from? If they already follow someone like the Braves, then they're not going to leave Atlanta, following Atlanta, especially as good as they are, just to go follow that team in North Carolina. So it would definitely take years and years and years of a new generation of fans, I think, and this is all just speculation, not something I've heard at all, of following that new team and making it popular, even if people want to go out to the game and watch. That's not the same as having a dedicated fan base. So it's definitely a long-term play if that is what they're going for. Something that would maybe make sense in 100 years. But I think right now it's just, where can we grab more attention? Where can we make more money? Because places like obviously Colorado, not just beyond how bad the team is right now in Colorado, it's really difficult, even if they were spending, to convince players to go play there because of the altitude and just how difficult it is to pitch there. So I think there are a lot of problems regardless of some of these startup teams and the basement dwellers that they have now. There's really no easy solution. So I think that is definitely above my pay grade, but I would be interested to see how it would work out if they were to expand to somewhere like North Carolina.
Disha, you are the absolute best. We love having you on. We've already gotten several texts on our text line about the interview with you. Always appreciate you taking time to join us to talk Major League Baseball, and we hope to do it again soon.
Oh, anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Disha Thosar. Be sure to give her a follow on Twitter on X if you have not done so already. I tell you what, man, she's awesome. Yeah, I mean, knowledge to cover all of the MLB teams that we discuss, and to be able to know as much as she does. I could listen to her talk for an hour. She's awesome at what she does, and sure to appreciate her hopping on with us, Steve.
Yeah, it's 32,500 followers. I think our Tolos can help get her to 33,000 followers, right? By the end of the day. Let's make it happen, Tolos. I believe in you. Deesha at DEESHA Thosar, THOSAR is where you can find her on Twitter. Where you can find us right now is inside the Corner Cafe at 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. We have some $5 Ingles gift cards to give away. Just stop by, run up and say the word Tolo to us, Tolos, and we'll hook you up. That'll knock a couple of bucks off of the dinner that you're going to take home from the Ingles Deli to the family. How about that?
Let me say this. I have been guilty. I shouldn't say this on the air, but I'm going to do it anyways. I've been guilty, just depending on, what time of the show it is, to accidentally grab 2 instead of 1. What? Become $10. And, yeah, April Mosley told me I was guilty.
Oh.
It happens every now and then. But, that's why Diesel hands them out, and I don't, because I have sticky fingers sometimes.
What's up to Kane? What's up to JD and all the other Tolos, the 57 of you Tolos who are watching the stream right now on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We were working there for a while, Cole, to get the stream up on our Instagram page, but thanks to Instagram's silly rules about having to restart every hour, we kind of killed that off. But hey,
I mean, come on, what? How dumb is that?
Silly. What are they thinking over there? It's a Facebook product. Anyway. You can already go live.
Why that doesn't make sense?
Crazy.
If you have an hour show, it's fantastic, right?
And another crazy situation, Cole, with the Indiana Pacers, who made it to OKC by a circuitous route. What happened? What kind of craziness went down in their flight? We'll talk about it next on the Fan Upstate.
404 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
You know, it's funny, Cole. We got a text earlier about 35 minutes ago from a Tolo that didn't name himself. Shocker. Texts in, talking a little trash, doesn't give his name. Says, Diesel's back today, expecting to hear more non-sports segments now. That's funny because I can't tell if this is a sports segment that we're about to talk about or not, because it involves the Indiana Pacers and them having to have a flight to Oklahoma City for Game 1 of the NBA Finals diverted, and it put them in a really tough position to not be able to practice and prepare enough for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Scary situation where they had some tornadic activity way up in the sky, and they weren't able to land, so they had to be diverted and take the long way to get to OKC.
Is it bad that the first thing that came to my head was, does that affect the line? I mean, you're a degenerate without telling me. I mean, does the 7.5, 8.5 point spread affected because they were late?
Yeah.
Who knows, right? I mean, in football, quarterback goes right. Goes in.
All these things matter, right? And depending on how far they had to get on a bus and drive, now they're exhausted. Yeah. Maybe slows them down just a little.
They did make it though.
They did make it. They are going to play. Daniel LaRusso's going to fight. Everything's going to be fine. But man, like I've
tornado.
I've never thankfully I've never been on a flight that had bad turbulence.
Yeah.
I've been diverted, but it wasn't for weather. It wasn't for really turbulent activity. But have you ever been on a flight that had really bad, like scary turbulence?
No, I've been lucky, man. I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, turbulence doesn't bother me, but I've never had like. Now you'll have those moments where you just like drop and your heart just like goes into your stomach. I had that a couple weeks ago, and I've been lucky. I say that, knock on wood, and you're asking me that, and at the end of the month when I fly. Guess what? I'm gonna probably get caught in a windstorm. Right?
I'm not a religious person, but I start believing real quick. All I feel is the littlest bump, and I'm like, oh God, get us out of this, please. Put us on the ground, safe and sound.
You don't like
I'm too young. No, I mean, we talked to Dan B, one of our favorite Tolos, who is a pilot, and says turbulence doesn't bring planes down. You're not gonna go down because of turbulence.
It's easy
for the pilot to make it less scary, right? Yeah, he's up there all the time, and he's trained to deal with it. I'm in the air like once every 2 years or so. It scares the crap out of me every single time.
Let's dive into the college baseball super regionals, Diesel. On the other side, what to know about every team in the NCAA super regionals. Really good matchups. I teased it yesterday. We'll take a little bit deeper dive and get your reactions on these matchups next. But wouldn't it be a good thing if when you sat down this weekend to watch college baseball, you knew a little background on each of these teams? You knew some players' names. You knew who to watch. You knew what this team did during the regular season. You knew what team sucked during the regular season. Well, guess what? Good thing is, in this very segment, we're going to tell you what you need to know about the teams that will be playing this weekend in the Super Regionals. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We are live at Ingles. If you Tolos want some free money, we've got some gift cards right here, Ingles gift cards. As Diesel's showing you on the stream, we're live on or at 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. Going to get into a little college baseball right here in this very segment. We do have, let's see, a caller on the phone lines. Diesel, is that Britt?
I think it's Britt or it's Rick. I can't tell which.
Probably Rick and Greer. Is that Rick and Greer? Is that you?
Yeah.
Try that again, Rick.
It sure is.
What's up, man?
It is.
How are you, Richard?
You there?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Okay, let me tell you what. I went to an auction today, and I just happened to buy memorabilia y'all been talking about, and I'm going to give it to y'all to hang up in your little man cave that you got.
Really?
Guess what it is?
What is
If it's a severed head, I'm going to be very disappointed.
It is a LeBron James game-worn jersey from 2013, and it was worn in a game in the championship series in 2013.
How do you know that?
I've got the date on it that he signed it. I've got a letter of authenticity.
No, really?
And I got the jersey.
Cole, I'm surprised. Cole's going to put a spotlight right on that jersey.
Put it behind me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll wear it. So is that can you tell me, Rick? I mean, you got this locally?
I got this locally. It was from the seventh game of LeBron's first World Championship.
Wow.
I got it in my car right now. I'm working. I'll be over giving it to you now.
Wow.
But I'll take a picture of it and send you a picture, okay?
Okay.
And then tomorrow sometime I'll give you all the jersey.
Wow. That's
awesome.
If it's real,
Did you say world champion? Do you mean NBA Finals or World Championship, as in like a special tournament?
NBA Finals.
Oh.
Seventh game of the NBA Finals.
I like
that. The last game was 6-21-12. That's when he won his first championship.
Oh.
That is
it. Look it up.
Rick, we really
name on it.
Yeah. Most jerseys do. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a picture of what you're getting. Okay.
Well, just so you know, you can't send pictures to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. It doesn't work.
It's true.
So you're gonna we'll have to figure out a different way, Rick.
Rick needs to download Twitter.
I'll just come to Ingles and give it to you. Okay.
Well, I thought you were at work today. You gonna skip out on work?
But I get off at 6, so it gives me about 30 minutes to get there.
We'll be here.
Wow.
We'll be here, Rick.
I really can. I'm enthralled. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the call.
Wow.
I don't know.
We really don't know if Rick's telling the truth or not.
I don't. I don't. But guess what? We're getting a jersey.
If it was, Cole, how would you like display it in the studio? Would you put up like a pipe and drape system so that or ropes that you couldn't get close to it unless Cole removed the rope to let you get close to
like
it?
a little pulley system.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Like cut some curtains in front of it so it doesn't get like UV damage.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I don't know, man. I'm excited about that. Somewhere where I can see it. I think there's a spot to the left of where I sit, Diesel. I don't know. That's awesome. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. I really do. If it's real, but not what it's the thought that counts, Diesel. It's the thought that counts there for Rick and Greer. So Tolos, come get these Ingles gift cards that we have and have to get rid of before we leave the show today. Want to give you one of those if you come by. It's the Springfield location if you're local to the area. It's this weird island between the Boiling Springs and Spartanburg off of Asheville Highway. Come see Diesel and I until 7 o'clock tonight. Diesel, let's get into a little preview of the NCAA Super Regionals happening this weekend, Friday through Monday, and start with Matt Kraft's Miami Hurricanes. They're going against Louisville this weekend. The Hurricanes have made a little bit of a surprising run to the Super Regionals, right? They weren't really a team that we thought would be there, during the course of the season.
But are we certain that Madcraft likes the Miami Hurricanes? Because Madcraft likes to cherry pick.
He does
from different parts of the country, depending on what sport it is. So
last I checked, he likes Miami.
Yeah, he's an LA Chargers fan.
Yeah,
he's a Miami football fan. We don't know who his NBA team is. He's a Braves baseball fan, so he kind of cherry picks from all over. So he may not. Are we sure he likes the Hurricanes baseball team?
Well, I'd say I'm 60% sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm 60% sure. So Miami got hot.
Yep.
They're playing really confident. Louisville's a good team, 38-21, very consistent all season long, very balanced team, strong pitching, strong offense. Obviously, they'll have the home field advantage, Diesel, with them hosting the Super Regionals.
Mm-hmm.
They swept the Nashville Regional with wins over ETSU, and don't forget, number 1 seed Vandy, hosting their first Super Regional since 2019. Take Davis, 18 home runs on the season, 50 RBIs. Jack Brown, close to a 500 batting average at times this season. He's been really, really good. So they've got some tough bats in that lineup. However, I just don't know if Miami is complete of a team enough. What intrigues you? Is this one that you'd sit down and watch, Miami, Louisville, ACC Super?
Yeah, what intrigues me about these two teams is they're virtually equal. Miami 34-25 on the season, Louisville 38-21. So it's not like either one of these teams is on paper dramatically better than the other one, right? So we're not talking about 40, 45 win teams. We're talking about two teams that were both pretty good, but not the best of the best in their conference. And, I like watching two teams that are evenly matched. I don't like seeing blowouts in regional and super regional play. I want to see good baseball games, both two teams that can hit fairly well and can put up 6-7 runs and make it a high scoring on both sides, interesting game.
So the next one, Diesel, is the one that I said yesterday will be the best super regional this weekend. The best super regional this weekend. Florida State, Oregon State, both 40-plus win teams.
Mm-hmm.
This marks the first ever meeting between these two schools in baseball. Florida State making its 19th Super Regional appearance. The winner of this series obviously advancing to the World Series. Oregon State strongman. They overcame an opening loss, which is hard to do in a regional, right, in the Corvallis Regional. Guess what they did? They won 4 straight games. St. Mary's, Southern Cal, Mitch Canham, their 6-year head coach. He has a rich postseason history, national championships in 06, 07, and 18. They've got dudes that can hit the ball. And then on the Florida State side of things, we'll have to ask Melissa Level about this team later this evening when she drops by. They swept their regional, Tallahassee. They defeated Bethune-Cookman, Mississippi State twice. Link Jarrett, 3rd season. They've got as strong as a rotation as anyone. And when you look at what they do offensively, Max Williams, 18 home runs, 49 RBIs on the season. This, to me, Diesel, this is the one you sit down and get the popcorn out.
Oh, this is the high octane one. Both of these teams can hit. Both of these teams can pitch. So we just don't know which kind of dominant performance is going to come out from which team. I like Oregon State to win this series, Cole, but I think there's going to be 2 really good, or 3 really competitive games. I think just based on a home field advantage, Oregon State going to get this one done.
Well, that helps. That helps. You almost wish this matchup wasn't happening right now, that we could save this for the World Series. Maybe because this to me, Diesel, feels like something you'd see in the College World Series.
Well, it would certainly change the narrative of college baseball, the power being pulled to the Southeast. And hey, the majority of the great teams are still in the Southeast, but there's still really, really good baseball being played in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon, in California, those areas over there. It's great to say we had 20 out of 25 of the top 25 teams from the Southeast, from the SEC, the ACC, the Sun Belt, whoever it may be. But when you say, but the national champion came from all the way on the other side of the country, what is that really worth?
They're so good, man. Oregon State's so good. I said yesterday, Diesel, I know you weren't here. I said I think Oregon State might be my team to win it all. I think so. I think they're as complete of a team in this postseason. That's going to be a really fun super regional this weekend. And then next you have Arizona, North Carolina. Arizona and North Carolina have met 5 times in history. Arizona leads the series 3-2. The last meeting was in 1990, so it's been a long time. North Carolina, look, the good thing is they're at home, and they're 28-7 at home this season, while Arizona is 10-8 on the road. North Carolina relies on their strong pitching. Arizona has showcased powerful hitting, Diesel, 15 home runs during the Eugene Regional. Think about that. Arizona, 15 home runs during their regional. So it's a contrast of styles that are going to collide, and these are 2 really good, again, 40-plus win baseball teams.
Yeah, I would like to say that pitching wins in this, but this is college baseball where starting pitching doesn't necessarily every night make deep runs into the game, into the 5th, 6th, 7th inning. I think North Carolina's starting pitching is probably good enough to hold these Arizona bats down a little bit. But, man, once they get into that second or third guy in the rotation, once they get into the middle relievers and the late relievers, Katie bar the door because Arizona may be storming back late in a lot of these games.
Yeah,
I think Arizona ekes this one out, Cole, by getting past the starting pitching early and then finding success against the relievers.
It'd be big to do that on the road because I'm really interested to see, not just with this super regional, Diesel, but all the super regionals this weekend, all 8 of them, whatever there is, I'm interested to see just how big home field advantage is. Boshamer Stadium is a tough place to play, and we're going to find out just how important that is when you talk about home field advantage for these super regional teams. Up next, you have Coastal Carolina versus Auburn. Can you say 50-plus wins for Coastal Carolina? One of the best records in the nation, Diesel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, when you look at this matchup, it's going to be fun. These teams have met only once before. Auburn won 16-7 in the 2019 Atlanta Regional. This obviously this is a big-time matchup between 2 really good teams. Kevin Schnall, in his first season for Coastal Carolina, man, out of the Sun Belt, they won the Sun Belt regular season and tournament championships. They swept the Conway Regionals. Diesel, they're currently on a 21-game win streak. Caden Bodine, Jacob Morrison, those guys. I mean, Jacob Morrison has a 1.90 ERA, ranking 3rd in the country. Think about that. The 3rd best pitcher in the country resides in Conway. This team, and I know Butch Thompson's team at Auburn is going to be ready. They're always good. They have an all-SEC selection, Diesel. But this team out of Conway, South Carolina, they're as hot as any team in the country right now. How do you pick against Coastal Carolina?
It's tough to pick against them, honestly. They're really good on the road, 18-7 on the road this year. You said it, 51-11 overall record in a good Sun Belt Conference. Is it as deep as the SEC or the ACC? Of course not. But you still have, Southern Miss and Troy, 2 teams that made regionals in the Sun Belt Conference. There's a couple of other really good, proud baseball programs like Louisiana in the conference as well. They dominate teams like East Carolina. They beat the tar out of Clemson twice. They went 11 innings against North Carolina back in March. They won against NC State at a neutral site 10-3 back in February. They split a season series with Wake Forest. Didn't fare so well against Alabama. They beat Rutgers. They beat Ohio State. They beat Kansas State. They beat Washington. I mean, they're not intimidated in any way by major conference teams. They hold their own. They play really well in these high-pressure situations. I like Coastal a lot. I don't know that it's going to be enough because, it's still Auburn. But and that's what they play the games for. They don't decide these things based on us talking about it. I think Coastal Carolina could win this series. Am I calling them to win the series? No, especially because it's on the road. But we'll see. This Coastal team is really good.
They're good. I hope they do, man. They're as hot as anybody, and I hope they can go do it because I'd love to see them in Omaha. Diesel, UTSA, UCLA, the next super regional. How about a first here? The first super regional appearance for the Roadrunners of UTSA, the Junkyard Dogs. How about that, man? First ever super regional appearance. Pat Hallmark has done an incredible job. They're going up against the 15 seed UCLA, right? John Savage has been at UCLA for like 100 years. I think it's literally his 21st, 22nd season in the Big Ten. They swept the LA Regional with wins over Fresno State, Arizona State, and UC Irvine. They're hosting their first super regional since 2019. And UTSA is kind of that team that goes into this super regional weekend with that chip on their shoulder, right? Yeah. They don't belong to be they don't belong there. They don't deserve to be there, right? According to the what they did in the regular season, but they have guys that are really, really good. Braylon Owens is a pitcher on the UTSA staff that's one of the best as of late in the regional play in the postseason. They led the AAC with 528 runs. Diesel, they ranked nationally in batting average at 317, and they ranked nationally with their on-base percentage of 428. So they have that grit, that resilience that they're not supposed to be there. And you never know. Sometimes it's dangerous when you have teams like that.
I'm going to say it right now. UTSA wins in 2.
I love it.
I mean, UCLA, look, everybody here, once you get to this point, is good. But really UCLA good. Is a 15 seed. They are, in theory, one of the weakest teams in the tournament at this point. I think UCLA takes them a little bit lightly, and UTSA gets it done, and they shock the world. Let's go, Roadrunners.
Roadrunners. I mean, that's a great mascot, and it had a great mascot, Roadrunners. Speaking of a team that's not supposed to be there, the 6th Super Regional Diesel, Murray State versus Duke. The Murray State.
It's on my screen.
Oh, it's on your screen.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's a tough one.
It is a hard one.
Race.
It's one of those things you don't think about them until basketball season comes back around because Murray State somehow finds a way to make a run in the NCAA tournament every couple of years. Yeah, this one's going to be a fun one. Love to see Duke playing well, mostly because the head coach there at Duke.
Yeah, Chris Pollard.
Chris Pollard was the former head coach at App State. What could have been, I don't know. But I want to see that guy do well, even though I don't have a whole lot of love lost for Duke. I think Duke, though, just better overall.
They're good. They won the Athens Regional, beat Oklahoma State and Georgia, hosting their first ever Super Regional at Jack Coombs Field. Diesel, Ben Miller, one of the best players in the ACC, team captain, 20 home runs. A.J. Gracia, outfielder with 13 home runs and a 300 batting average. You said it, all the teams at this point are really, really good when you get to this point of the year. They rank 14th nationally in home runs. Duke leads the nation in walk rate, and they do have a little bit of inconsistency in the starting rotation. Look, Murray State's a great story. I just don't know if they can get that. I mean, we saw what Duke did to Clemson. Duke ate Clemson's lunch.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they have enough. I'd love to say they could, but I don't think they do. The 7th Super Regional Diesel, as we get toward the end of the list here, West Virginia versus LSU. A really good matchup. West Virginia advancing to the Super Regionals for the second consecutive year. Guess who they beat? Clemson, right? Back in that Clemson Regional. West Virginia, LSU's an interesting matchup. It's the first ever postseason meeting between these two programs. LSU brings in that rich tradition, right? And West Virginia kind of brings in that resilience. And Steve Saban's first season, what a job he's done in his first year. Like I said, they swept the Clemson Regional. They rallied from a 5-run deficit in the 8th to beat Kentucky. Griffin Kern, senior pitcher, really good arm. He was big in that regional at Clemson. Skylar King, a really good center fielder for that team that's one of the best defensively. And then Jay Johnson, 4th season at LSU. They were really impressive in the other than one loss to Little Rock in the LSU Regional. I don't know. This is a super regional I look at, and I really don't know. This is a tough, maybe a coin flip.
Yeah, it could end up being a toss-up. I know LSU has really good pitching. Cade Henderson and Anthony Ayenson, both of them sub-3 ERAs. Both of them are undefeated on the season with a 3-0 record. They've got a really good bullpen, does LSU. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Who knows how this one ends up. I think LSU squeaks by, though, in a dramatic Game 3.
Yeah, LSU's good. LSU's really good. And then the last one for you, last Super Regional, it is a rematch of a late season series between Arkansas and Tennessee, where Arkansas took 2 of 3 from Tennessee Diesel in Fayetteville. The Razorbacks have a 12-3 record against the Vols in the last 15 meetings. Think about that. In the last 15 meetings, Arkansas's 12-3. That is a huge historical edge. Tennessee's good. Tony Vitello's amazing, but Dave Van Horn, 23rd season, they've been good against Tennessee for some reason. They swept the Fayetteville Regional. Offensively, they rank 6th nationally in both home runs and slugging percentage. They have a team ERA of 3.95. They're going to be a tough out, and when you are historically that good against somebody, we'll see how Liam Doyle and Manny Marin of Tennessee handle that. Two of their best players, Andrew Fisher as well. He's the home run leader on that team. This is going to be an old-fashioned blue blood SEC matchup, but don't you have to give the edge to the team that's kind of owned them as of late?
Yeah, I mean you gotta use past results to dictate what happens in the future or to help aid those predictions. I just feel really bad for the owners over at Rocco's because they would love for both of these teams to be at Omaha because they would sell a metric ton of Jell-O shots if both the Tennessee and the Arkansas fan bases were there. It's funny how this Jell-O shot challenge has morphed from how many shots could you drink in the bar to having fans and alumni just call up and say, hey,
buy them.
I'm going to buy 10,000 Jell-O shots from Baton Rouge. Wait a minute, how are you going to come over and drink these? It doesn't matter. Just give them away. We don't care.
That's right.
Give them to the people on the streets. We don't care. Just sell them.
That's correct.
And we'll pay for them. Isn't that amazing, man? Doesn't SEC pride come out in the funniest way?
Real quick before we run to a break, of those 16 teams that we just went through, if right now today I gave you $100 and said I want you to put this $100 bill on this team to go win it all, I'm putting mine on Oregon State. I'm giving it to Oregon State. That's who's getting my money. Who would get your
If you hadn't just said it out loud, I probably would have picked Oregon State as well.
That's easy. I mean, it feels like an easy.
Yeah, it does. It does, Cole. And I'm gonna go for broke here. I'm gonna try to win big, and I'm saying that the state of South Carolina brings back another national championship, a title held in the Sun Belt. Give me Coastal Carolina, a team of destiny, the 51-win team. I say they get to Omaha. They get it done.
Let's go.
They're just too good right now.
Let's go. I would love that. Let's go Coastal. Go win it, man.
Would Chanticleer fever take over the state of South Carolina?
We should go.
If that were the case.
We should go to Omaha.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm
Top
down.
flight, just as long as there's no turbulence. Speaking of turbulence, Cole, when we come back, we'll play a little game called For Better, For Worse. It's a sports conversation, believe it or not, Texter, where Cole and I will present sports scenarios asking which one is better, which one is worse, and you Tolos can participate as well on the text line at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. We'll get to For Better, For Worse next.
Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Tolos, we do have some exciting news to share with you. Melissa Level will be joining us live coming up in just about 32 minutes. Melissa going to join us at 5 o'clock as she does every other Wednesday here on location at an Ingles Markets. Today, we are at the Boiling Springs location, which Cole likes to tell me isn't actually the Boiling Springs location.
It's just it's a weird. Melissa's like nodding. It's a weird. Look, Melissa, look, you got to look at my hands. It's a weird mesh. Spartanburg's here, Inman's here, Boiling Springs is here, Dorman is, it is the weirdest thing.
Why don't you just combine all the town names together? The spot in the middle is like Sinberg, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I would do.
It is crazy.
8650 Asheville Highway, in Boiling Springs. This is what you need to know, Tolos. 8650
right.
Asheville Highway in Boiling. Because if you try to put Springfield in your GPS, it's going to go.
That's this. I don't know. Melissa may not know this. This area to locals is called the Springfield location. I don't know. Have you heard that before? You have. It's just this. It's like a block. It's just this is Springfield. I don't know why. Nobody. Right. Right. It's weird, but nonetheless, we're here. Teasel, to your
right? Yeah, we're here. So come and see us. We've got Ingles gift cards to give away. Still got a few of these left. Walk right up to the table and say Tolo. We've had a couple of people, Cole, walk by and just give us that blank deer in the headlights stare. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do you have microphones and like, what are you doing here? Despite the fact that there's big Fan Upstate with the call letters and everything behind us, it should be fairly obvious. But if it's not, why don't you let money dictate you coming out here to see us? 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. Cole, we started to do this about 3 weeks ago before I took off to go on vacation, which feels like it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I lost all concept of time when I was out on vacation, but we're bringing this segment back because it's taken the upstate by storm. It's a segment called For Better, For Worse, because truthfully, Cole, we are in a marriage, believe it or not. We are together probably just as much as I'm together with my wife, probably more, to be honest. I probably spend more time in your presence. Don't tell her. Well, I mean, she knows. She knows. She's the one who took a job all the way down in Seneca,
there you go.
Away from the house. But here we go, Cole. We have a couple of sports questions and scenarios framed in the what's better or what's worse context. So let's get started. We go back and forth asking each other questions. I want to ask you, Cole, starting with number one, what's worse, moving on from a good coach and struggling with your new one, or watching the coach you just moved on from find equal or better success in his next stop? Which hurt most?
Man, this one's what's worse, right? Which is worse? This is a tough one, I will say. Moving on from a good coach,
kind of like our Tom Thibodeau conversation. What if Tom Thibodeau, wherever he goes, finds equal or better success with his next stop?
Yeah. Or
your own team
struggling. Yeah.
With your new coach, you thought you upgraded, but you didn't.
Gosh, that's tough. I would probably say watching the coach that left have success, right? Because you're going to struggle. Like, sports are hard. Like, winning's hard. And then if you're in it long enough, you know that you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have peaks, you're going to have valleys, and you're going to go through droughts, right? And you're going to have tough seasons. But when you see that coach, we talked about it in the very first segment, right? If Tom Thibodeau goes on somewhere else and does really well, it's going to sting. New Yorkers don't like that. New Yorkers don't like to lose. They don't like watching somebody else succeed. And if Tom goes to a winning program, maybe Denver or wherever it is, and it elevates them, I don't know if you just make that trade for Malone and Thibodeau, but I think that's the worst, don't you?
Well, New Yorkers don't really like anything. Have you ever been to New York?
True.
They hate everything. They even hate other New Yorkers.
That's true.
They hate themselves.
They're not happy
else.
people.
No, they're not. I've seen more than one fight break out on the streets of Manhattan and Brooklyn. Trust me. They get a little rough up there. But I mean, would you agree? Would I agree that it's tough to see your coach, your ex, go on to find success? I mean, that is tough. That is tough. I mean, I'd probably say it's worse to have your own team struggle because you had highfalutin ideas of what your program was going to be. You thought you could do better. You thought you could upgrade, and then you just let it walk right out the door, and now you're in a bad situation. I mean, we've all had those relationships, Cole, where you think you can do better with the person than the person you're with. And ultimately, it doesn't work out that way for you, and you're left holding the bag at that point.
I've got two for you. My first one, what's worse, being a blue blood, having to try to remain relevant, or being a program with not as much historical relevance and having to build from the ground up? You could use South Carolina and Clemson baseball in this illustration, right? South Carolina baseball having that historical that history of success, that period of success where they were dominant and won national championships, and then Clemson Diesel on the other hand, who is year in and year out a good team, but they don't have any history when it comes to winning at all. So which is worse?
Well, I question, are you a blue blood if you're fighting to remain relevant?
Well, yeah.
But it kind of goes back to the conversation. What is a blue blood? What do you have to do to be one? Can anybody new gain the status? If you have the status, can you lose the status? How long does it take to lose the status? I think, Cole, it's a lot tougher to build from the ground up, right? Because the elite programs in any sport are always going to have the most funding. They're always going to have some of the best fan bases. They're always going to have a ton of money in NIL available to them. They always will have that mystique, right? So it's easier for them to get those elite players, to get those elite coaches, to convince fans to take out their wallets and hand the cash over. That's a hard thing to do for up-and-coming programs. I mean, look at Clemson basketball. That's a great example of another team that's trying to take that next step. And even, before it was the Elite Eight run 2 years ago, people were saying, well, can we really do better than Brad Brownell? Hell yeah, you could have done better than Brad Brownell. Sure. Brad Brownell was nothing, right? He was nothing. And you got fans saying, I don't know, this might be the best we can do. That's really hard to overcome that and change your fan base's mind.
Yeah, it is tough. But, it's just that it's a great conversation that will always be had, because you know what the wrench that's thrown into this conversation now is with NIL and the portal. It does make that conversation a little bit different, right? In terms of building it up, it's a lot easier to do that nowadays. Ask Murray State. Right? These teams, it's easier to find success. Vandy football. Yeah, it is a little bit easier.
It's a lot easier to convince a kid to come to a school that doesn't traditionally have that elite aura around them when you're paying them to come, right? I mean, it's no guarantee, but it's easier to get them to consider your school, which they might never have considered your school before until you back that Brinks truck up to their front door, and they say, where do I sign on the dotted line? Yeah. Cole, what's better? What feels better? Your school flipping a commit from another big program just before signing day, or getting that first commitment from a kid at a high school? He chose you first versus he chose you right before it was time for him to make the decision.
I want the flip at the last minute.
You want the drama.
Yeah.
You want the drama.
I want to make somebody else miserable is what I want to do. I want to ruin somebody else's day. There's no drama if the other instance, right?
I mean, I think it's the other way around. I want somebody to choose me early and stay committed for the entire process.
I do get that, but I'm telling you, there's an adrenaline rush about flipping somebody.
We've seen a lot of big-time commits flip over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I love it.
But you automatically assume, because they were a commit or had offers from, the Blue Bloods, the Alabamas, the Texases, the LSUs, whoever it is, if they are committed to one of those schools and they flip to you, somehow it feels like a bigger deal, right?
It does.
Everybody wanted this guy versus we were the first one to really get him.
Yeah, I've got one more for you. This one's not sports related. Oh man, I love that. I've got that written down to ask you about in the 5 o'clock segment, by the way. Melissa Level showing off some cool pictures from yesterday. A quick teaser on that. Which is better? What's better, Diesel? Having a long weekend with the Monday off or having the long weekend with the Friday off? So you work Thursday, you're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or you work Friday, you're off Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I think it's better to have the Friday off because it keeps you in the groove of, on Saturday you got one more day off. On Sunday, you got to get your mind right. You got to, you got to do what you got to do to go back to work the next day. I don't, it's weird having Monday and Tuesday off as I did, coming back to work on a Wednesday. It doesn't feel like a Wednesday. It feels like a Monday. Yeah. But then you realize, there's only 3 more days in this work week. I feel energized and I feel good. It's just an odd feeling.
You know what? I'll take either. I'll take either. Sure. But I think. Oh man, this one's tough. Diesel, I love having Friday off because you look forward to it for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, on a Sunday night when you know you don't have to go to work tomorrow,
it's a nice feeling.
It's nice, right?
It's a really nice feeling.
That Sunday night, I don't know. That's tough. I'll take either. That's my answer.
My last one here for you, Cole. This game is called For Better or For Worse. We frame sports questions, not always sports questions, most of the time sports questions, in the framework of what's better or what's worse. You can play along as well on the text line, 844-FAN-PHONE. Texter says, absolutely, your coach fired finds instant success.
Yeah.
That's from Bomber, who texts in. He says, your fired coach finding instant success somewhere else is worse than your own team struggling with the new hot girl that you thought was going to take you to the promised land. Cole, my last one for you here is, what's the worst or most embarrassing scandal that your team has ever been involved in that embarrassed you as a fan? It could be a player scandal, a coach scandal, an owner scandal. Could be something professional that happened on the field or the court or off. What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to your team? And a lot of texters, this is when you text in and say, just being a Cowboys fan is embarrassing enough.
That's it. That's it. That's the. I mean, I think it's more for the. Players are going to be players, right? I think when an owner or a coach, I'd say owner. When an owner or a coach is the one that's embarrassing you, it does feel a little bit like everybody gets the black eye, right? This whole thing with the Saints that we talked about a couple of months ago. I think when the owner does it, it's worse. Don't you?
Really? I'm lucky that my team, App State, has always been kind of a family organization. There hadn't been a ton of scandals going on within the program that would make the whole program look bad. I remember, and this one embarrassed me to no end, though I don't think a lot of people actually cared when it happened. We had a wide receiver that was supposed to be our best wide receiver we've ever had at that point. His name was Sean Price. For a guy that was like 6'5", springs in his legs, the guy that could go up and get any ball, the guy that was supposed to be like the greatest wide receiver you've ever had, get arrested in a drunken bar fight in downtown Boone, talk trash to the police officers, and then when he gets sent to jail, he says, these jail shoes, these prison shoes are not good enough for me. They don't offer enough arch support. I'm an athlete. I need better shoes. That was embarrassing to me to no end. It's like, come on, dude. You screwed up. Pay the consequences.
But they need some nice shoes. I mean, what's wrong with that? You don't want the nice shoes when you're up in the pen? I mean,
I don't think they make orthopedic prison shoes.
They don't have Crocs in prison?
Well, I don't know. They did in Idiocracy. That was the prison shoes that they wore.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a weird story. It almost doesn't feel real.
It doesn't feel real, but at the same time, when you say this is a prima donna athlete saying that the conditions that you're giving me in jail don't reach my standards.
Yeah. That's funny. I like that.
He was an FCS athlete, by the way.
That's good.
It's not like he was playing at Alabama or Georgia, in which case, if you get arrested at Georgia, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
You get a slap on the wrist, you're back on the field the next week.
Yeah, I love it. Diesel, we have a good many daily wires to get to. A lot of headlines, a lot of things happening in the sports world today, especially locally. We have a segment for that. Daily Wires next. time to go around the sports world and see our daily wires. I just showed Diesel the best tweet I've ever seen in my life. The Colorado Rockies.
It's bold to talk trash like that.
They put a tweet out that said wins since June 2nd, which was what? A couple days ago. 2 days ago. Rockies 3, Scotty Scheffler 0. The best tweet I've ever seen. That is the funniest.
Scotty was playing well this past week.
Oh, he's played good. He's played good. You gotta have fun with that kind of stuff. The Braves lost again last night. Diesel, shocker, right? This time to the Arizona Diamondbacks 8-3. The Braves now 27-32 on the season, 10 games back in the NL East, and have lost 9 of their last 12. Ever since you left, the Braves have sucked.
You just got to have positive thinking, Cole. That's what happens when the guy that's positive about the team leaves, and the only guy is Sad Sally over here that just wants to bag on the team.
Yeah, that's true. New York Knicks center Karl Anthony Towns has undergone treatment on his bruised knee to repair ligament damage. I don't know what damage is. Both suffered during the team's playoff run, sources told ESPN earlier today. Also, big news locally, Diesel. Amp Phillips, who we talked a lot about last week on the show, we had a couple texts about Amp Phillips. He was a pitcher for USC Upstate. What they did this season, he was on other people's radars, obviously. And last night, Terry Rooney got a big guy, and Amp Phillips, he's going to South Carolina. So he is transferring from USC Upstate to South Carolina.
That might be one of the best names I've ever heard.
It's great.
Amp Phillips.
We literally talked about it on the show yesterday.
Amped up?
Yeah, maybe you go to Clemson, but Carolina won that one. So really cool there.
Is that short for anything, Amp?
I don't know. I just love the name. I love the name. We talked about Tom Thibodeau. If you missed it, he was fired 3 days after the Knicks were ousted from the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll continue to talk about that. Yeah,
Bub can't beat the Pacers.
Yeah, wasn't good enough. The Hub City Spartanburgers were defeated on Tuesday night in Greensboro by a score of 4-1. Hub City did get the win today, though, so they have evened the series. How about those Hub City Spartanburgers? Chris Sell on the mound for Atlanta tonight versus the Diamondbacks. First pitch scheduled for 7:15 p.m. He is going against Merrill Kelly on the other side for the Diamondbacks.
Hub City, by the way, 28-25 on the season, second place in the South Atlantic League South Division, right behind Bowling Green, who are at 29-23 and better than the Greenville Drive. How about that?
Yeah.
Like you've been saying, the Greenville Drive been playing baseball forever, and they let some upstarts in Spartanburg punk them like that. How about that?
I love it. In case you missed it yesterday, Max Brown, the younger brother of Sammy Brown, has committed to Clemson, marking the first commitment of the 2027 class for Dabo Sweeney. Also, when it comes to Clemson, four-star running back Trey Segura out of Burns High School is in attendance today at Dabo Sweeney's high school football camp and has been working with C.J. Spiller a lot so far today. Trey Segura, who, for whatever reason, people can't pronounce his last name Segura right. It's comical. But
they might be thinking of the comedian Tom Segura.
Yeah, they could be. Everybody and their mother says Segura. I mean, it's not Segura, it's Segura. At least according to his dad. But what do I know? Segura received an offer. Yeah, he received an offer from Clemson this past weekend. He's been really hot on Tennessee. Tennessee's a big player in Trey Segura's recruitment. Georgia, South Carolina also offered a lot of offers.
So before you go any farther, it's impossible, right, for Max and Sammy to play on the same
only if
team
only
together.
if Sammy stayed for a senior year.
Would he? So Sammy would also have to redshirt a year, right, for like injury purposes to still be around for the class of 2027, because the class of 27 won't play until 2028. Am I right? Am I reading that correctly?
Well, I think if Sammy stayed for a senior year, I think Max would be a freshman. I think. I could be wrong on that, but that's a big get for Storm.
Red shirts and gray shirts and early enrollments and guys getting extra COVID years, even though they're not here since who knows? But like we'll see.
Yeah, Heisman Trophy winners Mark Ingram, Cam Newton, and Robert Griffin III, and former AP National Player of the Year Ndamukong Suh are on the ballot for the 2026 College Football Hall of Fame class. Longtime Minnesota Vikings defensive end Jim Marshall, who for decades held the NFL record for most consecutive games played. Diesel died after a long hospitalization, according to the team. He was 87 years old. Hate to hear that. The NHL Finals begin tonight. Oilers, Panthers, puck drop in Edmonton will take place at 8 p.m. So there you go. More things to bet on tonight. The Women College World Series, Diesel, best of 3, also begins tonight. Texas Tech, for the first time in history, an all-Texas matchup in the finals of the West or of the Women College World Series. I'm we
only get 3?
I know.
Oh, come on.
I love it. I can't wait.
Most sports, I'm saying, let's reduce the length of these series. With softball, extend it. Make it a minimum 5 games.
Here we go. I'm gonna be sitting on the couch watching this one tonight. Texas versus Texas Tech. I can't wait. We're 1 day away from the NBA Finals. Oklahoma City currently favored by 9.5 points. And last one for you, Diesel. Clemson outfielder Tristan Bassetta has announced that he has entered the transfer portal per Grayson, man of TigerNet.com. So a lot happening, but those are your daily wires.
Well, you know who's not entering the transfer portal? Us, sitting right here around this table. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here all the way until 7 o'clock tonight. Myself, Cole Bryson, Melissa Level. She's going to be joining us for the very next segment. That's next, right here on The Fan, Upstate.
and Cole
lots to talk
Bryson.
On the Fan Upstate.
Yes, we do. That's the voice of Melissa Level here on location. 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs, but not in Boiling Springs. It's in Springfield. Inman. Where is it?
Spartanburg.
Let me just tell you this: if
It's in
I'm
the
coming,
Bermuda Triangle.
if I'm on the phone now, I'm from here. Everybody that moves here don't know. If I'm from here and I'm running and I want to meet you in this location, like at First North, the big
Right,
church,
right.
I'll say, hey, let's meet somewhere near Springfield.
Right.
And,
Okay.
And I did have a text, Melissa. By the way, let's see. I got to find it now. There was a text on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line where a guy gave us the reasoning for Springfield, and of course, now that I said that, here it is. He says there was a large and popular neighborhood in that area back when there was nothing out there, late 70s. That was called Springfield.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of
So it could come back again and be
So
like,
people have trouble letting go of the past, is what you're trying to say.
No, I think it needs its own identity, frankly,
It does,
because right
because-
now, because nobody knows what it really is.
Here's the reason. Like if
Yeah.
no kidding aside,
Right.
Diesel and Melissa, if I had friends that grew up down this street in
Mhm.
Springfield Road, right? And that's another reason,
right,
Springfield Road,
Springfield Road.
that went to Bowling
The big
Springs.
road too.
Okay,
yes.
they went to Bowling Springs High School. I also had friends that lived a mile that way down Asheville Highway that went to Chapman. I also know people that
Dorman.
live a mile that way that go to Dorman.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're 2 miles that way, you're zoned for Spartan High.
So right there in the corner of everything meeting at the,
It's
at the
just-
foot.
So it's actually the crossroads.
It's
It
just a big. It's
Yeah,
a big
it's up.
melt. Nobody
Yeah,
knows.
yeah, but I think it does need its own identity though, because actually the interstate sign says Inman at the exit before this one.
Yeah.
Okay, which really is the one that goes to Bowling Springs.
But
The 200, right? You know,
it's gotta
that's
be-
200.
Nobody knows who they where they're
Nobody
from.
knows who they are.
It's gonna be confusing though for somebody
How do
that's
they
not.
find themselves?
If somebody's not from here, they think this is Bowling Springs. There's nothing.
But
There's
then they
nothing.
look on a map and they don't see a Springfield,
I
and they're
know.
like, "What is
I
Springfield?"
know. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
And
tough.
see, I always think Bowling Springs store is the one over there by Lake Bowman.
Where I live.
Right, where you live, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
But you never
By the
venture.
way. By the way. They're almost done with it.
Oh, I know.
Have you seen?
I've
the
been down
pictures?
there. I have.
Well, I don't know what we need to do, but Diesel and I, we might need to make a calendar revision and do
You had to go there for the grand opening.
for the grand opening. That's what I'm
The grand
saying.
remodel,
You
yeah.
need to talk to Jay and make that happen.
Yeah, we should. We should
Melissa,
do that.
it is. It looks awesome.
And then
I mean,
maybe after the show, you could try what's going to be new.
I know what's going to be new.
You do?
What is,
Well,
what is going to be?
I
new?
don't know.
You
No,
can't tell me. Can you tell me on the air? Because I don't know.
No, you can't say it on the air.
I go in there a lot, and I've
Don't say
been
it on the air.
snooping around.
Yeah.
I don't like being the only one that don't.
I kind of have an idea.
You do.
Yeah, out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
you guys can't see
But
Melissa
you're-
on camera. She did a gesture, okay, that tells me fun things are going to happen
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
particular
So
location.
here's the deal, Diesel. This, just so you know, you see how this one's laid
Right,
out.
this is
Yep.
not- yes.
This is how it used to look.
Used to look, right.
And
Mhm.
now all of that's over here, and all that's
That's over
open.
there,
It
and
is
all
incredible.
open.
It is all.
And then there's also
and,
some
and,
new
and the
things.
bad thing is, there's two Ingles on Highway 9 in Bowling Springs.
Right,
We, as Bowling Springs locals, we used to always say the old one and the new one
right.
because one's
That's
been there
the new
for
and the new
now you
one.
got to flip. I know.
It's
I
like
know.
my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
Yeah. You just-
probably don't know that.
it's the one
Who's on first?
Yeah, that's right.
We'll just say the one near Lake Bowen. That's
Yeah,
always, yeah.
I always use that as I always say like
The one they live on. Yeah.
yeah. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. I think we
can't
should
wait.
make that happen.
Melissa,
Let's do
you just had an event. We've seen photos of yours. We've seen photos of your counterpart, Sienna's, where you were in Clemson on the field.
We sure were.
Now, I know you told me that you got Dabo to say something that the sitting head coach of Clemson University should never.
I should
ever
clarify. He said
say.
both of them. Okay, he said go Tigers and go Knowles.
So he just wants your money.
You got Dabo Sweeney to say go Knowles.
Yes.
Count it here. You heard it here first.
But I have
Dabo
to-
Sweeney leaving Clemson for
No, no,
Florida.
no, no. Okay, we've left that. Okay, but let me just tell you this.
bet
I
you
got to
would.
tell you this. Okay, we're going to have such a great partnership. We're really looking to grow it. Don't know exactly this extent, but we did see a lot of opportunities that we could do while we were down there. It was wonderful. He did a great video message to me. And he said, "I know you're an old, so that's okay. We'll let it go."
Were you wearing a T-shirt? Were you
I was
wearing a
wearing my Florida State tennis shoes.
Oh, how about that?
Melissa? That is on. I can't believe.
Was it?
But we got to ride in the bus, so I tainted the bus with my Florida State
Did you
tennis
come
shoes.
down the hill?
Yes, I came. I tainted the hill. I ran down the hill. Yeah, and so, but but we got like all the signage and everything. But I have to tell you, they couldn't have been more welcoming. They were
Hospitable.
incredible. We currently have our Ingles Tiger tailgate show, which is 3 hours before every game. But we're looking to wrap that up and do bigger things and include that, and then expand our partnership. And really, where Clemson and Ingles really meet is our community involvement.
Yeah.
Okay, with the Clemson Life and also the charities that they participate in, and how we can work with that to help them get that message out and help be a part of that.
Let me ask you this question. Now that you, as a Florida State, whatever, are you leaning? I mean, can we get you over? Can we get you?
No, but listen. I said this to Cubby. He was out there, okay, and I said I always root for Clemson when he's not playing Florida State, because I have something about the coach. I saw what he did at Bobby Bowden's funeral. I mean, I think they have a long connection. I believe in him not, holding on to the very last minute, last drop of blood, not going into this new system. I respect him for that. Okay. But I will always be a Noel, always Noel in my blood.
You can switch.
I love it.
No, I can't.
Do you remember the old ESPN Never Graduate commercials?
Right.
I think there was a guy and a girl that looked like, I think they were on a blind date. They were driving down a dark road,
right?
And she says something about being a Michigan alum.
Right. Oh,
and the guy says, "Oh yeah, go Buckeyes," and jumps out of a moving car.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he can't go out on a date with a Wolverine.
Yeah, remember the one where she came home to meet the dad?
Yeah.
The guy came to that and he's wearing all the opposite colors.
Yeah. There's a new one. Yeah, the new one with the North Carolina and the
right.
fans.
Right. I love it. But I mean, also, seriousness, I think it'll be great. Whatever we do is going to be expanded from where we were. Lots of exciting things that could happen if we can bring it all together.
Melissa, can you defend yourself? One texter from the 803 says, now that Ingles is the biggest supporter of Clemson, us Gamecock fans will not shop there anymore. Don't let them do that.
Dad, you know what? I got to tell you, though, we do support the Gamecocks as well. Okay.
Yeah. You have Kleenexes and toilet paper and stuff like that.
No.
Oh, that's
no. We have
one square from every roll is going to be donated to Shane Beamer.
We participate, and we have the only Gamecock radio show and gameplay at our Fox ESPN Upstate. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah. You're good.
So we do, and we finance that. We do that. So we do support both.
You do support. Yeah,
we do know, and it's funny because most of our employees and managers are Gamecock fans, right? And then every year during the Palmetto Classic, we do both the boxes for the food drives and everything for that. But yeah, we do support the Gamecocks as well.
So we spent some time earlier talking about Florida State versus Oregon State in the Super Regionals.
Right.
You got to go on the road up to Corvallis.
They're ready.
You've spent your life around food, right? And we know Ingles is really involved with chef inspired or chef created meals. What region has better food? Okay, Tallahassee, Gulf Coast, or the Pacific Northwest, because it's a lot of seafood in both places.
Yeah, but you can't eat much whale.
I like that. I really do like that. That's a good question. I don't know what they do have up there that would be.
They have Alaskan
oysters,
crab. They have all of that as well. Okay, we have
the little crabs in the Gulf.
Florida State is right next door to Apalachicola, which is the oyster capital of the world. Okay, all right. I mean, I used to tong with my daddy,
and people are very defensive of where they get
but they also have the wonderful
from.
Like grouper and stone crab, and and they have wonderful. You don't have Alaskan king crab, but you have king crab. Okay, and so I mean, Oregon has great crab. Okay, they have crab. But there's a lot of seafood up there. There's the walleye that we wouldn't have down here. I mean, they're both good, but I think Florida just is known for its cuisine with seafood.
I heard they have crabs in Statesboro, Georgia, too.
Yeah, different kind.
Yeah,
that's what I heard too.
I love that. So,
how did you find that out?
Right about that. Melissa, I told Diesel, Florida State, Oregon State, that super regional matchup. It's to me the two biggest. I don't want to say brands, but the two best teams in my mind. I think it's going to be the best matchup.
I think it's going to be good. I think they're ready. I would really love to see this happen. I mean, it's kind of. I think they're not. If anything happens, they're not prepared because they've blown through everything out. Okay, you know how you blow through everything, and all of a sudden you meet a brick wall.
Yeah.
Okay, and you just have to get a little stunning there. Like hitting. I think that might be the only thing that pushes them back a little bit. Is they have not met competition.
No,
like
but few teams have. I mean, Oregon State's legit.
But Oregon State hasn't met competition like FSU.
Yeah.
I like how you turn it around.
I mean, I think both of them have kind of blown through their regionals. Okay, they're super regional, and so I really think that this is going to be a matchup where both of them are going to. I mean, it's going to be the best matchup. I think it'll be close games. I think I'm really looking forward to FSU. Yeah. I have FSU. I mean, not just because I love FSU. I think FSU can do it.
I don't think so. I think Oregon State has a chance to win the whole thing.
You know, did you know that Melissa
I don't like you anymore.
You know that she has a superpower, Cole? She can turn anything into a conversation about, well, that too. But she can turn anything into a conversation about Florida State. But she has a natural ability.
I don't like sucking up. And I know you like Florida State, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you.
But you have, I mean, you look at Oregon State, they play really well. But look at the FSU plays the same. I mean, they are really good teams. And they have a lot of the same playing standards. I really think, and I think it's time for Florida State to make it.
Well, if you can't have a good football program, you might as well have a good baseball.
Yeah, but where is Tennessee in all this, right? Tennessee, I mean, they're kind of blowing through everything right now too.
You were sharing with us before we started the segment that Tate Rodemaker, the former quarterback at Florida State, you got to be laughing your butt off because he was the backup at Florida State, would have been the presumptive starter the next year.
He would have been the starter against Georgia,
and then has been busted down multiple times to where?
Western Carolina University.
Southern Tantamount.
It's an Ingles school. Okay, which means I will have an opportunity to speak to him, and I will tell you a word of prayer is coming.
What are you going to say?
You screwed up, young man.
I'm going to say, why did you do that to us?
You tell him what's up.
Listen, he wanted a better deal, even because he didn't think that, since we didn't make the playoffs, okay, he thought he was going to just take it and run, okay?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he ended up going to Southern Miss, right? Southern Miss, I think, Southern Miss. Terrible there. And now he's being, he'll do great there. He's probably going to be really good.
I mean, he played great in a couple of games at Florida State, and then he tried to parlay that into more money somewhere else. Didn't work out for him. But there's been a lot of guys who have been able to have one or two great games. Look at DJU. Right. He had a great game against Notre Dame. He parlayed that into a ton of money in NIL in the following season. Everybody, I think they all think it's not going to be me. I'm going to get a spot somewhere else that's impressive.
Well, he made money. He made more money, right? Okay, but he didn't use it, and he didn't do well for it. And so he got cut. I mean, that's the way it is. And now he's going to Western Carolina.
Any interest in the women's College World Series that begins tonight? Texas Tech.
I think Texas is going to do it.
They're good.
Yeah, I think they're really good, and I really love it. And don't you love that USC Upstate swept both in the Big South, the softball and the baseball championships? Weren't they great? I just love it. Yeah.
And one of their top pitchers just transferred today to South Carolina.
I know he's going to be great.
He's good.
Yeah. But I just love that. When you talk about your hometown.
Yeah.
That's right here in town in Spartanburg, and I
literally
Springfield, Spartanburg.
Yeah. No, I mean, Upstate couldn't be closer.
I know, just like I'm trying to say it's all the different towns. I wonder what their address is.
I picked Coastal Carolina as a sleeper to win the national championship. They're a really good baseball team.
I just saw a story about that. I did. I saw a story about them and saying that they really are kind of flying under the radar right now.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just going to matter of whether they can take on those big teams.
Well, they got to take on Auburn next. That's going to be a tough test for them. So you were talking about your support and your partnership with Clemson.
Right.
You're talking about your partnership with Southern Conference teams. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your partnership that Ingles has with local teams, high school right here in the Upstate. Right. Where are you as far as what you plan on doing this coming season? Because, our Tolos who are going out to high school football games, no matter where they go, they're going to see advertising all over the walls, all over the fences and things like that.
Right.
And there's a good chance they're going to see an Ingles logo, and that says that Ingles is supporting their schools and their sons and daughters.
Right. We have a small sponsorship with Dorman, but what we really do is put money in the television.
Yeah.
And we broadcast high school football games on linear television, which just means it's real TV and you can see it. So we'll have, and then we do that on the Friday Night Rivals.
That's right.
And that's on My 40. And then we're also going to be joining in with WSPA Plus, doing high school football with them. And so you're going to see big time reporters and callers doing high school football on TV.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I love it. It's just a couple of months away. It really
I
is.
know.
Melissa,
Can't believe it. Can you
I
believe
love
it?
it. I'm excited.
Pretty soon, we're not going to have NBA to talk about anymore. We're not going to have
I wouldn't mind
NHL
that at
to
all.
talk about.
Come on.
I love talking to Democrats. I mean,
We're getting into football talking season now.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday. It's officially talking.
camp is coming up.
It is. Oh, Melissa, I've got 3 college baseball super regional trivia questions for you and Diesel.
Okay.
3 related to this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Which team made its first ever NCAA super regional appearance this year, 2025, earning that gritty underdog junkyard mentality program? First ever super regional appearance. 4 options: Murray State, UTSA, Arizona, or Coastal.
Coastal.
No, Coastal's made it. They won national championship. It's well, this is cheating because I already knew the answer from earlier in the show, but it's UTSA.
UTSA.
Runners of San Antonio.
First ever historic milestone.
Now, how good are they? Are they pretty good?
They were, a decent team in the regular season,
Right,
but they came on strong as of
Right,
late.
that's you play good when you want to.
That's right.
It's the junkyard dog comment
That's what's going to happen to
gave it away.
Atlanta, right?
If
That's
he
going to
hadn't
happen
said
to
that, I
Atlanta
would've done it.
Braves. They're going to compete.
My last. We had to go.
You just leave the yard part
How
out.
about those Cowboys there?
Just
All right, second one for Melissa and Diesel. Which team advanced to the 2025 Super Regional after winning the Eugene Regional, marking their first appearance in the Super Regional since 2021? So it's been a few years. North Carolina, Arizona, Florida State, or Oregon State. They won the Eugene Regional, first Super Regional appearance since 2021. Again, Oregon State, Florida State, Arizona, or North Carolina.
FSU?
Not FSU.
No.
Is it Arizona?
It is Arizona.
Yeah. Okay, there you
Arizona.
go. Ding, 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 ding. You're like killing it.
One more for you.
Cheater.
Third one. Yeah, it's just one.
You're looking at him.
Last one.
He's got one of those fancy things where I can't see the screen.
I know,
Okay,
I
that's
did it.
right. Okay.
It's cracked. Last one, Melissa. 2025 NCAA Baseball Super Regional. Which team hosted Florida State, your Florida State team, at Goss Stadium at Coleman Field? Was it Oregon State, LSU, North Carolina, or Auburn?
It's North Carolina.
Oregon State.
Oregon State, I thought we haven't played them yet.
Let me see what this says. Oh, it's. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It said which team is hosting.
Oh, it is hosting. Okay, we're gonna get
that. So let me tell you what I did.
We beat North Carolina.
These I went on the web and found these 3 chat GPT trivia questions.
Yeah, see, that's how you can trust AI.
The third one, not so good. The first 2 were good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diesel's older than me, so he remembers that he's coached.
Oh my God!
If you hadn't been a Tallahassee Lassie, where would you have gone to school? What was your second choice?
The University of Missouri, because I wanted to be a journalist. I think.
Ah, really?
Mizzou, right?
Mizzou,
So
I didn't have the grades.
You'd have been a great journalist, by the way.
I didn't have the grades.
Well, that's why you went to Florida State.
I
It's a
did.
party school.
No, I didn't have the grades, but I had to get a scholarship doing the circus. So I mean, I didn't have the grades. Yeah, and so and Mizzou's a great school.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't trade my experience.
I couldn't see you with gusto screaming "Go Tigers!"
No.
The Missouri Tigers.
Yeah.
Do you think? Let me ask you this question.
You were made for Tallahassee.
You'd have been a good journalist, but do you think you would have been a better journalist or a better lawyer? Because I could see you as a heck of a lawyer.
You know, my brother was a judge, right?
Okay.
And a lawyer.
Really?
Everybody in my family, except for my mother, has a PhD. I have a PhD.
Mhm.
My brother had a lawyer. My daddy was a PhD in economics, and my brother was an excellent lawyer. And I used to, when I lived in Tallahassee, went to school. He was going to law school in Tallahassee, and I would run briefs with him. And he said, "You can write."
I'm telling
There's
you,
nobody that
I
writes a better
see it.
brief.
I can tell just by knowing you. You'd be a great lawyer.
Yeah, but I don't do well in scum water.
Can your brother turn it off, or is he a judge all the time?
Well, he passed away, but yeah, he could at the time he could turn it off really well because he was also so many other things in the community. You know, he's a district judge, so he had 5 counties, to do it. So he did all sorts of things. He was a volunteer fire department person. He had kids. He did. I mean, he was the best at turning things off. My brother was so mellow.
Really?
I mean, he was. I mean, compared to my dad and me, who were like you could tell, right? So, I mean, I don't have the patience to go through law school like that, too. But I just don't think
You had the personality, though.
my job is just so exciting and fun.
Yeah.
What I do now. I mean, it just put me here. Somehow I got there, and I love what I did.
Yeah.
I can see myself doing either one of the other ones, but I didn't have the grades, and God had another plan, so that's where I am.
I love it. I love it.
Love to hear it.
I think you're doing as good as anybody could do in your role. I mean,
Thank
you're killing
you.
it. You're doing a
Thank
fantastic
you.
job. We appreciate you as always. Even if you did wear Florida State shoes yesterday.
Yeah, that was great too. They told me to wear comfortable shoes.
What was the best part of that trip to Clemson?
I really enjoyed seeing my team. They were so excited. They gave us our own space in the locker rooms with the jerseys. I got to take home jerseys with their name on the back of it.
That's awesome.
But when they ran down the hill, they had their names up on the screen.
That's cool.
Like Ruby Downs from Asheville, Ohio. I mean, it was great.
Nobody tripped coming down the hill, did they?
No. No. And it was just the best part for me, which tells me why it's so important to do things like what we're going to do with Clemson, is the emotion that put up. They'll never forget it.
No.
And what it's so welcoming. But I mean, the Cub was there. The Cubby, the little
Tiger Cub,
the Tiger Cub, Tiger. He was there. He's great. Had Ingles on the back of his jersey.
Good.
We got to ride the bus. The same, right turns. I tainted everything with my shoes.
That's all. That is
I put a spell on the field.
You slipped Dabo at 20 to say go.
No, that was a video. It was a video.
They should never let you.
So it's recorded somewhere.
That is awful, Melissa.
But I did. I tainted the bus. I tainted the field. I tainted the locker room. I rubbed my feet around. Like,
I'm surprised you weren't putting Florida State stickers on everything.
I know. Really.
It's more about the karma.
Well, let me tell you this. I hope you rubbed a lot of shoes because they're going to need that. They're going to need your karma.
Oh,
Florida State has no chance against Clemson this fall.
No, I don't think so here, but I do think that we will have a 6-7 win.
Better year than last year. Well, I mean,
we gained the most points, and we're up to 48. We could plus 39 points over all the highest gainer in the rankings so far. But I mean, we're not going to be anywhere near the top 25. Clemson's coming in at number 7 right now.
The question is Melissa getting a ticket on the 50, or is Melissa going to be in a luxury box?
Where's that game at?
It's at Clemson.
Melissa will be working.
Oh,
Melissa will be working on the pavilion doing the show.
Dedicated to her craft.
That's right. But you know what? If they give me a ticket on the 50,
she'll go.
You'll find it. You'll find it.
She'll
find a way to get down to that seat.
I will tell you my worst memory real quick. I'll tell you when I can't remember how long ago it was. You probably remember. Grew up a Clemson fan, right? So it was college game day. Jameis Winston, freshman quarterback, coming into Death Valley, and it was the loudest crowd they've ever had on record.
Yeah, they were pounding on our buses. It was number 1 and number 2.
Let me tell you this: at halftime, we were all on the way home.
That's right. It was 55 to what? 55 to 7.
It was. That was one of the worst.
And Jameis Winston gave his most famous locker room. We are Florida State. We own this.
He absolutely killed Clemson that day.
Yeah, and I mean, but our defense went in right away. Boom, knocked up. Fumble on the first Clemson drive.
I'm trying to see what year that was.
2013, maybe.
How excited are you to see Jameis eventually wearing a headset?
I can't wait.
In the booth calling games. I mean, come on.
I think it'll be great. I really do. I think it'll be terrific. I mean, he's really
right.
calmed down a lot. Was it 2013?
Yeah,
2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like
never forget those things, right?
I woke up at like 4 a.m. to go to game day.
Associating yourself with a brand like Clemson or Florida State or a high school brand is so important because it touches someplace really different than just like hearing a commercial.
Listen to this. It was 51-14 final score. Jameis Winston stat line, Diesel. 22 of 34 for 444 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had a rushing touchdown. And that's probably when they, go ahead and get in the Heisman Trophy.
Right, and you know what? And that was the year they beat Auburn for the national championship.
That's right.
Right? Okay, but it wasn't. And I remember standing in my living room because it was the Auburn-Alabama game. Okay, and it looked like we were probably going to play Alabama in the national championship in the Rose Bowl, right? Okay, and Auburn takes that
kick six
all the way, pick six all the way back down. I'm like, we're number one.
Yeah, that was. I'm telling you, that was incredible. That was a crazy year.
I went to that game. It was incredible. I went to the Rose Bowl. Yeah, I was. I've been to every national championship.
So the kick six happened, and I'm just sitting here putting pieces together. The kick six happened the same year you're talking about. I mean, that was all the same.
Right.
There was so much happening.
That's why Auburn ended up playing us in the national championship.
Because they ran that kick.
Yeah, they ran that kick.
That's unbelievable.
At the last second of the game.
57-yard field goal.
Right.
and they missed it.
They
It
missed
fell
it.
short.
Kind of right back. Yeah, it was just that was incredible. So it ended up being, and I can remember that game back and forth was incredible for that national championship. Auburn really had something, but I remember there's SEC fans and ACC. We went ACC, SEC, ACC.
Yeah.
It was pretty. I mean, that's a rivalry amongst itself, not just schools, but conferences like that.
So we're at the Ingles markets in Boiling Springs, the Springfield location. But I do want to trust you. I do want to test your trivia knowledge because you have an uncanny ability for this, and Ruby has an uncanny ability for this as well. There is an Ingles Markets in Clemson, which we invite, of course, all Tiger fans to get your game day beers and
it's
barbecues, whatever you need at that store.
And the best
do you know
right
what
there.
store number that is?
53.
Oh my God! How do you do that? She doesn't
that
need
right?
the address. She just knows the store
That's
number
right.
off the
That's
top of her
right.
head.
I love that.
That's
I do want to read this 803. I didn't pay for this text, but the texter from the 803 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't know who this is, and I didn't pay him. They said if Cole Bryson is not a part of the big name reporters, Ingles made a mistake. I'm just telling you. I love the 803.
That's great.
I don't know who it is.
You're not fired.
I know. I don't know.
Because I will always support the Tolos. Whatever they want me to do, I will do.
You will. 803, you're the best. Ingles, Melissa, you're
Thank
the
you.
best.
I had so much
Appreciate it.
fun. I
Yeah.
love this. I missed you last weekend.
I know, it was tough. It was tough. All right, Diesel, let's take a look on the other side at the Atlanta Braves. I have a very burning question regarding the Braves, and if you're a Braves fan on the stream listening today, I want to hear from you in this next segment because I have a question to ask Alex Anthopoulos. What you Braves fans say, how you react. I want to hear that next, right here on the Fan Up.
with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Eric in Boiling Springs takes the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, and he says, I would ask Alex Anthopoulos why the owners are restricting money to keep talent out of Atlanta. That comes from Eric in Boiling Springs. I have a Braves question on this Hump Day edition of Wire to Wire. Welcome into the show. I'm Cole Bryson, Diesel to my right as we are live at Ingles Markets over here in Boiling Springs. If you haven't done so, we have a few gift cards left. Come by and see us at 8650, I apologize, 8650 Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs, the Springfield location. Come by and say hello.
And sitting directly across from us is Bubba Brooks.
There he is.
From my hometown, went to a rival high school of mine. We were at a rival high school. We didn't know each other at the time, obviously, but we went to rival high schools at the same time together. He played against Ryan Suckup, who kicked for my high school, ended up kicking at South Carolina with the Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well.
How about that? Did you get a gift card? Good. He did get a gift card. We got a few left for you, Tolos,
right.
if you want to stop by. But I do on this Wednesday, Diesel, I do have a question for Alex Anthopoulos. If he were sitting across from us today, obviously he's not. Obviously he won't be able to answer this. But if he were, I'd like to know what he would like to or would have to say. And I would like to know from you, Diesel, and the Tolos out there as well at 844-FAN phone, just exactly how you think Alex Anthopoulos would answer this question. My question to Braves fans, my question to Alex Anthopoulos is very simple. I'd say Alex or sir, I might say sir. The team right now is not good. You're 10 games back in the National League East. I want to know from you, AA. I know you're not going to fire Brian Snitker during the season, but I do want to know from you, Mr. Anthopoulos, what low do the Braves have to get to in 2025 for Brian Snitker not to return as the manager next year? Because I don't want him to return, Alex. If you're sitting across from me, I'm going to tell you, I don't want him as a Braves fan back. I'm done. I'm appreciative, Diesel. I'm very appreciative of all that Brian Snitker has done for the organization. But that's the question I would ask him. What low do you have to get to for you to know, all right, we're moving on? What do you think Alex Anthopoulos would say to that?
Well, first of all, he would quote Madcraft when you said this team is not good and say, well, we have talent all over the field and we need your positivity to we need you to send quality vibes over the airwaves and just point them in our direction south down I-85 towards Atlanta. Make these players feel good about themselves, and they'll play better baseball. Maybe a better way to put that would say, what is your litmus for success for Brian Snitker as a manager? And do you believe that he is achieving whatever that standard is? What is the standard of success for Brian Snitker, and is he achieving that standard? Make him think about the question, well, is Brian Snitker not achieving the standard of success? And we all know the answer is no, he's not achieving that standard. But if you can get Alex Anthopoulos to put, some sort of baseline, put it into words. What is the baseline standard for Alex, for Brian Snitker as a manager, and make him start to think, maybe he's not living up to this massive contract that we're paying him for. That would be the real question to me.
But what do you think his answer would be to my question? Well, what's the floor? What's the bottom for you to know in your heart? I don't want him dodging questions like you are. I want him to answer it. I want him to answer the question. How bad does it have to get?
I don't know that he's going to be able to give you an answer to that question. Because
I want him fired too.
If the answer is 10 games under 500, we reach 10 games under 500. That's not good enough for us by the All-Star break. If by this point in the season we're 10 games under, or if we're in last place in the division. Now, thankfully, the Marlins are doing their part to keep the Braves not in last place there. But they're doing everybody's job. I mean, for God's sakes, they just got swept by the Rockets.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a hard thing to say because he's got his ace back. He's got Ronnie back. The spark should be there. Where is it? Why is this team playing just as bad, if not worse, with their two stars back? And he would say, well, it takes time to work guys back into the roster. You know, Spencer Strider needs time to get back here at a major league level. Ronnie needs time to readjust to major league pitching. Yeah, he was tearing the cover off the ball in AAA, but the majors is not AAA.
Sure.
It's one step better than that. I mean,
tough.
if you wanted them to say last place by the All-Star break, I think that's that is a very clear, unacceptable line.
Okay.
For we cannot accept this as the Atlanta Braves, because I mean, this is a franchise that should be winning and competing for World Series
This year they should,
most seasons. I mean,
Yeah.
Competing for most seasons, winning it easily once out of every 5 to 10 years.
Let's go to the phone lines, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. JD wants to hop in and hopefully answer my question if Alex Anthopoulos were sitting across from me. JD, do you have an answer for me?
Yeah, my number one answer would be if he doesn't perform any better going out the rest of this year, yeah, we're gonna.
What does that mean, though? What does that mean? Perform better. What does that mean?
Well, I asked the question yesterday. So the Braves are like 50-50 in their last 100 games.
Yeah.
And at this point, they need to win at a 75% clip to even be in the playoff conversation again. So performing better would be, hey, can you at least get me to 60-65% winning percentage and maybe make a case?
So is that a wild card? Is that a wild card berth?
Yeah, at least. I mean, at least with this roster wasn't built to be 10 and a half games back.
Correct. You're right.
Beginning of June.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, that is not why you signed all of these young players to all of these team-friendly deals. You didn't. I mean, we didn't sign up to be the Pirates with Paul Skeens.
Right.
Throwing 99 miles an hour and having the best ERA, but only winning 3 games. I mean, that's not what we signed up for.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there.
And so I asked the question, and this will be one I wanted to ask you guys too. So Trevor Bauer, though, he has been completely exonerated in his whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the Braves not trying to sign him? Why is no one trying to sign this guy?
I mean, is he still willing to play for the league minimum? Because the Braves could get him on the cheap.
Is that where we are, though, Diesel and JD, that the Braves are so bad we're having to go after Trevor Bauer, who's in Japan, where was he at? India, Bangladesh.
Well, you don't bat an eye when a great Japanese player comes to play here. Why are you batting an eye?
I don't want Trevor Bauer,
American player, comes back to play here.
That's where we are. That's where we are, trying to get Trevor Bauer back. JD,
right.
Stuff.
The Braves need pitching, and that's just my whole thing about it is I just can't believe no one has reached out to Trevor Bauer. Not even the Yankees.
It's called PR. That's the answer, JD. The answer is PR. They won't. A lot of people won't touch him, even though he's been, as you say. Again, I haven't seen the article that you're talking about here. Exonerated of all wrongdoing. There will still be PR people who will say, "Yeah, he's a good player."
Yeah,
but he's going to be a good player somewhere else. We're not going to touch him. And when all 30 teams say that then nobody signs him.
Right. I agree. Great show as always, gentlemen.
Thanks, JD.
Y'all make sure to tune in and hit subscribe and like and everything on Wire to Wire. Y'all be blessed, not stressed. Have a great evening.
Appreciate you, man. You too. I will say, last thing on the Braves. I asked last week, Diesel, Reggie Chapman Jr. in Atlanta of 11 Live News. I said, do you think it's a little unfair to have expectations on the shoulder of Ronald Acuna to lift this offense up?
Mm-hmm.
And he said he didn't think it was totally unfair, but I do think now that I've thought about it, we're expecting one guy to turn this lineup. And like Matt Olson, he sucks right now. It's not Ronald Acuna's fault, right?
Right.
Ronald Acuna's playing well, but it's frustrating. That's all I can say.
The question, a better question, Cole, is how long do you watch your stars underperform and keep them on this roster?
I don't know.
I mean, if the answer is, well, we don't have anybody better in our AAA, who's our AAA? Gwinnett?
Yeah.
If the first baseman at Gwinnett not better than Matt Olson, he's not hitting better than Matt Olson, why not send Matt down to AAA and bring this guy up? or play whoever you got as the number 2 on the regular roster. I mean, shuffle the deck chairs. Show these guys that they are not, that they are expendable, that they are willing to move on from you. They're willing to replace you if you cannot perform. You are being paid to perform at a high level. You're being paid to perform at a National League East competitive level. And if you can't do that, we'll send you back down to Gwinnett.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bye, Melissa. Thank you as always, Melissa Level. Look at her. I mean, she's the grand entrance.
She's wearing sunglasses
in the store. She's the best.
It's a big deal.
She said turn the lights off. They'll turn the lights off, right? Jump how high? Melissa Level, she's the best. Absolutely love Melissa.
When we come back, Cole, leagues are getting deeper and deeper with the Sony Hawkeye technology as this thing continues to get its fingers farther into all these major sports. I just wonder what kind of unintended, unforeseeable, negative consequences are going to come from this technology. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break on the Fan Upstate.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Cole, the NHL and Sony have announced that they are expanding their relationship when it comes to the use of Hawkeye technology, working its way into NHL television and broadcast. I wonder, is it all good that one company and one technology is working its way deeper and deeper and deeper into major sports? So the collaboration, this is the marketing spiel from Sony and the NHL. This is where it all sounds good, right? They have become the official NHL technology partner. The collaboration aims to enhance the NHL experience for fans, coaches, officials, players, and broadcasters by utilizing Sony's animated data visuals, Hawkeye measuring and tracking technologies, and various Sony products. See, this is where we start talking about how they're going to make money off of this. The partnership will focus on increasing the production of NHL animated data visualizations, expanding the use of Hawkeye technology, and investing in Sony products to bring fans closer to the game. The NHL has been using Sony's Hawkeye technology since 2015, and the partnership will further advance technology innovation and immersive content delivery for NHL fans worldwide. That sounds like, Cole, they're giving you more things to spend money on, more things that you could subscribe to.
You know, I do find this Hawkeye stuff interesting, but the NHL multi-year, I would, when you talk about fan experience in the NHL, I would like to see how it's going to I guess, make fan experience better than it is now, because hockey fan experience is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to 2 playoff hockey games in my life when I lived in Dallas, and that was as cool as an atmosphere as I've ever been to. So they've been using it, what did you say, since 2015?
Yep.
I just, I hear you with negative consequences, but I'm not opposed to Hawkeye technology helping. I think it's good for the game.
You know, it's funny. If you'd asked me this a week ago, I would say, yeah, Hawkeye Tech is going to make all major sports broadcasts better, because the technology will be able to hyper focus in on the ball. Without using GPS telemetry to tell you exactly where the ball is, you could use this Hawkeye technology to pinpoint the ball, whether it be football, whether it be golf. I watched a documentary, Cole, about how they do the broadcast for golf.
Oh, yeah.
They know what a player's average carry is, and so they have cameras all over the course, and they break the fairways down into quadrants, and they have a sense based on what the player's stats are and how they're hitting the ball lately, almost exactly to a T where the ball is going to land. That's how you know when you're watching the online product.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time watching that during the PGA Championship and during the Masters. Like, you could see a pin drop when the ball hits the fairway in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
It's when it happens in real life.
Is that part of the Hawkeye, the tracer?
I don't think so. I think that's a different technology.
Gotcha. I love that, by the way. I love that.
And that may not be a Sony Hawkeye technology, but it's essentially the same
and
thing.
they have apps where you can do that. Diesel, you can set your phone up at the golf course. I mean,
it's incredible.
But
I wonder, Cole, as they're pushing, it's basically they're going to push more and more content to right here, to your phones.
That's right.
Right? So they're going to find new ways to monetize your fandom, whether it be through visualizations, whether it be for logging in for next gen stats on puck spin rate, and flip rate, and whatever.
I love that stuff, by the way. That's cool.
It's fun, but I wonder, Cole, is giving fans the ability to hyper focus in on that kind of information possibly going to take away from the overall enjoyment of the game?
I don't think so.
I mean, think about it in baseball.
Yeah.
The way the game is played, and coaches are coaching hitters how to hit.
Yeah.
They're trying to increase launch velocity and spin rate of the ball, and so they could be using this technology to affect the actual game on the field.
That's true. Look, just like anything, I think it can be used for positive and negative, right? But I'll tell you what, I'm one that's fascinated by that kind of stuff. I love learning about it. Just like if I'm watching a game and there's advanced metrics, advanced stats, I love it. I'm enthralled by it. So just like anything, I think it can be used.
Do you think coaching ultimately gets weaker as they have more and more and more data? telling them what to do based on what the data is saying, will it take away the instincts of coaches? Will it make coaches worse at their jobs because, well, the computer readout says we should punt?
Yeah, and I think that's already happening in a way, right?
Yeah.
I hope not. But, like, I tell you this, there are coaches, when you look back, that were some of the best coaches ever because of their instincts. And now you're already having to, especially in baseball, man, and football too. I mean, it's statistical driven. But it's, you know what, I think overall I'm for it. I'm fascinated by it. It's a lot of fun, though. Diesel, are you ready to be put to the test? I hope so, because I'm going to put you and the Tolos to the test.
Do I have a choice?
You don't have a choice.
Oh.
In the very next segment. Now, I'm polite. Try to be polite. You know the answer. Which is older? That's the game that we're playing next.
Is that an old man joke?
It is not. It's not. It is a sports, pop culture, tech, and history game that's titled Which is Older? I'll tell you how to play, Tolos. You can join in on the fun. First time we've played this game, we'll see how smart, how wise old Diesel is. That's next.
upstate.
It's the final hour, the power hour, right here on this Hump Day edition of Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Diesel to my right as we are at Ingles for one more hour tonight. It is the 8650 Asheville Highway location in Boiling Springs. We have what? I think we ran. Yeah, you told us we're great today. We went through all of our gift cards. Was that Bubba Brooks?
That was
Bubba. Yeah, I want to shout out Bubba Brooks, who I'm sure is still toe-loing as we speak. Also, thanks to Melissa Level for coming by in the 5 o'clock hour. She was fantastic. But Tolos, for those of you heading home in this 6 o'clock hour, I invite you to play along with Diesel, as I am going to put you all to the test. That sounded a little strange. I'm sorry for my wording there, but I do invite Tolos to team up, as I'm going to put you guys to the test.
So how many questions do we have?
We've got 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions.
Okay. So you asked me in the 520 segment what kind of metric we would put on Brian Snitker, or else he gets fired. Let's put that metric on me right now, Cole.
Oh, God.
How well do I have to do to maintain my job, or I'm fired?
Well, I can't make that decision, but I'd say I think you'll get half of these right.
Half.
I do.
50% or better. That's it.
I do. I think you'll get half. I really do. This is fun, though.
Oh.
So here's the game. It's called Which is Older. You can participate on the text line, but you've got to be quick if you want to do that. If you want to play along with Diesel and give him a lifeline, is that what they used to call it?
Yeah.
On Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? If you want to be Diesel's lifeline, you can team up on the phone live with him and see two brains is better than one, right?
I don't know.
Well, okay.
My brain's not worth a whole lot.
3, 4, 5 brains.
Maybe that's not helping. So go ahead and get on the phone lines, 844
if you want to play along.
And phone, and we may come to you as a lifeline.
And JJ's brother, John, I want to shout out John, doing a fantastic job back in the Ingles Market Studios. John will let us know if we have a caller that wants to play along. So here's the game. It's which is older, right? We're throwing out some sports facts, Diesel, comparing them to pop culture, technology, history. You got to figure out which came first. Okay?
Okay.
We'll give you two things. It could be an athlete's debut, a movie release, whatever it may be. You've got to figure out.
Do we have a bell and buzzer sound effect for John to be able to use?
Probably not. Probably not.
Sorry,
probably,
John.
Probably next time. So, first one.
I'm gonna hide my
screen
so I can't.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. First one, Diesel, for you.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James. LeBron's NBA debut.
Okay.
Versus the launch of Facebook. Which came first?
Okay, so LeBron and I are the same age. He is 40. He's 40 years old. LeBron made it in the NBA when he was in high school, or let me rephrase that. He skipped college.
That's right.
So LeBron would have gone into the NBA roughly 2003. Would have been his NBA debut. Facebook didn't. So when I was in college, you could only be on Facebook if you had an EDU email address.
Oh, really?
But it didn't come to App State first. It was at like the Ivy League schools before that.
That's right.
So
you're still on MySpace.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know. Angel Fire, buddy. So I'm going to say that Facebook is older than LeBron's NBA career.
You're saying Facebook is older. LeBron.
Facebook is older, which means Facebook, like the Facebook, when it launched it, what was it, Harvard, I think, is where Sean, whatever his name, went to college. So I'm going to say Facebook launched before LeBron was in the NBA. Facebook is older.
LeBron's older.
No.
LeBron's older.
What?
That's right. LeBron, October 2003. Facebook, February of the next year, 2000.
Whoa.
Can you believe that?
What?
Can you believe
that? We're 5 months apart.
5 months.
5 months apart.
That's great. That's great. All right. I don't know if we'll have time for all 10 of these, but we'll try to get to as many as we can. By the way, you can play along if you want to. Phone lines are open at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. Next one, Diesel.
Mhm.
This one's fun. Tom Brady's first Super Bowl win.
Oh, God.
Versus the launch of the iPod.
Of the iPod.
Pod. Not
Brady's
pod.
first win.
Yeah.
iPods.
Now, here's the deal. Because these do get challenging. If you want me to give one of the two dates, I will, but I can't give both. Obviously, if I gave both, you'd know which was older. But if you do want one date, I can give it to you.
Back when iPods were gigantic.
Yeah.
iPods, the original iPod was roughly the size of this little toolkit here.
It was.
And it had a black and white screen.
And the circle, right?
Yeah. It was before that had a directional pad.
Then it
The circle came later.
Oh, wow. I'm too young.
I'm going to say that the iPod is older.
You're right. Yes, you're right. The iPod Diesel came in October of 2001. Brady's first Super Bowl, February of 2002. Hope that doesn't make you feel old. Hope that.
So they're 5 months apart.
It's again.
This is tough,
close, man. It's tough. It really is. All right, this one's fun. You'll like this one. Tiger Woods' master win versus first master win versus the first Harry Potter book. So it's Tiger's first Masters win versus the first Harry Potter book.
I never got into Harry Potter, so I couldn't even tell you when the movies came out. So the books were
So you
before
want
that.
Harry Potter's date?
Yeah, I'll take the date for
his
Harry
date?
Potter.
The first Harry Potter book, June of 97.
Did Tiger win the Masters before June of 97? I'm going to say no, that Harry Potter books are older.
Tiger won in April.
Wow.
Like, what, two months?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what's older. Tiger Woods' first Masters win or the woman that he's currently dating.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Who was what came first?
That's a good one, too.
His current girlfriend's birth date or his first Masters win?
That is John, producer John, by the way, he got it right. He said Tiger was first.
Wow.
So Tiger won in April. Harry Potter came out in 97, June of 97.
God.
All right, next one. Steph Curry's NBA debut versus the Instagram launch. Which came first? Oh, you want one date? Tell me. I can give you one of the two dates.
So Steph would have gone into the NBA in roughly 2006.
A little later.
7, 8,
9. 9.
Terrible at this.
9.
Versus Instagram. I think Steph Curry's NBA career is older than Instagram.
You'd be correct.
All
You'd be
right.
correct. Curry, October of 9. Instagram, October of 10.
Wow.
So 1 year. 1 year.
Wow.
Let's take this thing to the Atlanta Braves.
Man, Mike, if we could go back to a life in a world without Instagram or a life without Facebook, come on, I would do that in a heartbeat. Heartbeat.
Next one for you. The Atlanta the Atlanta Braves last World Series before 2021.
Oh man.
Versus Friends first episode. So the last Atlanta Braves World Series before 21's championship.
I was in 6th grade when Friends launched. Middle school. Year 1 of middle school, which would have been 90. God, I'm bad at this. 99 would have been first year of Friends, right?
Not according to
97. I think it was already launched a couple seasons before that, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. It was launched a couple.
So, at first episode of Friends versus the Braves' previous World Series championship before
which is
2021.
older, yep.
And honestly, I don't have the eidetic memory.
95 was the Braves.
So the Braves' last title before 2021 is older.
No.
What?
No.
When did Friends launch?
94. What? Is that not crazy? 94. I mean, literally, I looked it up to verify. September 22nd, 1994 is when the first. That is insane.
I was 10 years old. I was 10. Bubba Brooks is playing along on the text line.
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, doing pretty good.
Other Tolos.
Yeah,
John, do we have any Tolos who want to jump in and play the game as a lifeline?
We still have 5 more if they do.
Let us know on the text line. Okay.
No, not right now.
Gotcha.
All right, next one. Nick Saban's first Alabama title versus the first iPhone.
Wow.
Nick Saban's first Alabama title versus the first iPhone. Which is older, Diesel?
See, I didn't get an iPhone until an iPhone 4S. Prior to that, I was on the dumb phone train. God, again, I wish I could go back to the dumb phone train. Please, let's make that happen again. I mean, I could. Yeah. Not one of these stupid modern flip phones.
Yeah.
I remember when Blackberries were everywhere. Anyway, the blue, if you had the blue one, you had the good one.
Rick Buster, the game.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh man, playing Snake on a flip phone. You don't know how that was living. Okay, I'm gonna say, give me the options one more time.
All right, the options are
iPhone versus
Nick Saban's first Bama title. If you want a date, I'll give you 1.
I'm gonna say that the iPhone is older.
You'd be correct.
All right.
See, I told you you're doing pretty good.
All right. I think you're back.
I think you're
the first iPhone.
So first iPhone, June of 07.
Okay.
Saban's first at Alabama, January of 09. So iPhone got him by a couple of years.
Wow. I remember seeing the first iPhone. Somebody had one.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, that's a spaceship in their pocket.
All right, let's bring Bubba Brooks on the line. Bubba, can you hear us at 844-FAN phone? Can you hear us?
Loud and clear.
All right. You want to be Diesel's lifeline for these next few?
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna say what I think the answer is, and Bubba, you can tell me if you agree or disagree.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Here we go, Bubba. Clemson's 1981 national title versus the release of E.T.
Oh man, I loved ET as a kid.
E.T. phone.
ET phone home, the riding the bike across the moon.
Yeah. That was good.
I think ET came out like 82. So I'm going to say that Clemson's national championship is older. Do you agree, Bubba?
Agree.
You both are correct.
You both are correct.
I like having Bubba as a teammate. He makes me smarter.
Yeah, he did. You both did well there. Clemson's national title is older. All right,
let's leave Bubba on the line to play one more round here.
Yep. We've got 1, 2, 3 more.
Okay.
All right, Bubba, you ready for this one? Diesel, hope you're ready. This one's fun. NASCAR's first Cup Series race. And you know, back then it was the Winston Cup, right?
Winston Cup,
Yep.
baby.
Yep. NASCAR.
When this was a proper country.
That's right.
Sports were sponsored by cigarettes.
Well, exactly. NASCAR's first Cup Series race versus McDonald's founding. Which came first?
Oh my God! What would it have been before NASCAR, or before? Man,
nothing.
Oh,
so which is older? The founding of McDonald's?
Way before that? I'm going to say that McDonald's is older. Bubba, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm going to say I agree to that too.
You're both correct.
Yeah.
Both correct.
Look at that.
1940. McDonald's.
40.
Yep. NASCAR, 49.
Wow.
Yeah. How about that? Bubba, you did great.
I wasn't born yet, believe it or not.
Good job, Bubba. Appreciate
Thanks
you, man.
for being a part.
He did. Y'all, Bubba, you and Diesel were 2-0.
Yeah, we should have kept him on the phone for more.
I've got 2 more for you.
Okay.
Michael Jordan's last Bulls game versus the Sopranos premiere.
Bulls round 1 or round 2?
Ooh.
Because he didn't. Yeah. Was this pre the Barons, Birmingham Barons?
When he played baseball?
Yeah, when he left for baseball, or when he retired, or when he. Because didn't he took a hiatus, right?
Mm-hmm. He did.
And then he came back
he
to
played
the Bulls.
baseball in '94. So this Diesel is his last Bulls game.
Last Bulls game ever.
Yep. Versus the Sopranos premiere.
Oh, dude. You know, I didn't watch The Sopranos until years after. I liked it. I knew, like, All right, this was a groundbreaking show for what it was.
Yeah.
Long form, episodal, seasons of a story. Oh, I think Sopranos debuted first, so Sopranos are older.
God, Jordan, 1998, Jordan. His last game with the Bulls. Sopranos 99 of January. So not far off though. Wow. All right, last one. We're going to run to a break. Aaron Rodgers draft versus the YouTube launch. Which came first?
Ooh.
This one's tough.
Aaron Rodgers draft, YouTube launch. YouTube was around when I was in college.
Yeah.
It was still in its early stages. Some of those insane early videos.
Sure.
I'm going to say that YouTube would have been circa like 2006 when YouTube launched.
You're close.
2005 versus Aaron Rodgers. I don't remember what year Aaron Rodgers went into the NFL.
I will tell you this: it is not far off.
Oh God,
it's not the 2 months or the 2 months.
I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers was drafted, and then like a week later, YouTube launched. So Aaron Rodgers' NFL career is older.
YouTube. February of 05.
Man,
Rodgers wins the draft. April of 05. You're talking about just 2 months. Just 2 months.
I love those old, quirky, nobody knew what was going on YouTube videos. Unforgivable.
Yeah.
Was one of the originals. Old Greg. Great early YouTube video. Man, that was good stuff. That's my childhood, basically, you're talking about.
I'm telling you, it's good. That one you did good, though. I think you were close to 50%.
Man, that was tough.
It was tough. I love that spot.
I thought you were going to have these things be like a year or no, easier on me. We're talking about months.
You got to be good.
Unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, Cole, we had a great conversation earlier in the show with Disha Thosar, who writes about Major League Baseball for Fox Sports. She is an encyclopedia of knowledge. We dig into all the best storylines in Major League Baseball with Disha. And if you missed it earlier, we're going to play it again for you next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
The Rich Eisen Show.